back and get ready to have the most fun you ever had with an electronic device.
Something has moved from behind you, over your head to your right shoulder. I feel like there's less things.
I did move some things around.
Well, the tropical ascot is gone.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course.
Is that what we ended up calling it?
Very short season for a tropical ascot.
It's 2 weeks, so is it?
It's too hot now for an ascot.
Well, yeah, it's it's in the wash.
All right, everybody, welcome out to the Get On With It Sports Show. It is Wednesday, October the 13th, 2021. Jersey Johnny coming at you. And with me, as always, is none other than Mr. Harry Lug Nutz and a beautiful mountain scene. Say hello, Mr. Beautiful Mountain Scene.
Hello, I'm Mohonk Mountain.
There you go.
In beautiful
Harry?
New Paltz, New York.
Harry, what do you think about our new co-host? The
Very, very, very pretty. Very looks like the plains of upstate New York or something.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. But it could be Iowa, though. It could. Oh, wait. Something's changing.
There it is.
I got it now.
Now it's definitely Long Island.
All right. How is everybody on this fine evening?
You know, I'm going to lie and say fantastic.
I just want to say this baseball playoff sucks.
Yeah.
Horrible.
This sucks.
Pretty
Nothing
shitty.
And that's not
exciting.
because none of the teams that I wanted to win won,
Right.
other than Boston, of course.
Nothing
against the
exciting
Yankees.
at all.
But, I mean, one series going to Game 5? Come on!
Yeah.
I mean, you could have expected that sort of with the White Sox and the Astros, but I think you'd get a little bit more out of these other series. I mean, Brewers, hello?
Yeah, what's up? What happened to them?
4 runs?
Braves? I mean, come on.
4. Well, listen, Braves were really good early in the playoffs last year, as I recall, and then they kind of fizzled out, but surprisingly good. But the
Apparently,
Brewers,
they just need to get to the playoffs is all
they
they
just forgot how to hit. So that was disappointing. And
Yeah, I mean, look, big name players show up and play big time ball when it matters.
Yeah.
And you're seeing guys on Atlanta, you're seeing guys on Boston and Tampa to some degree. I mean, that series was closer, even though Boston won it in 4 games. It still was a pretty close series.
Right.
But and then the
it's
Astros,
close games, not a close.
yeah. And then the Astros taking care of Chicago, which I think
what we expect. But when was the last time Milwaukee's been in the playoffs?
Well, just a couple years
A couple
ago.
years ago, yeah, they've been relevant for a while now.
They've been a pretty good team for a long time. Their bats, again, look, much like the Yankees, the Milwaukee's got good pitching, but their best reliever blew that game against a better player.
Yeah.
This is the time of year where good players make the difference in a game. This is when great players change the outcome of every series. And you're seeing it. This is the difference makers. This is when you have to play baseball. This is when you just can't slug a 3-run home run when your team's up 5-0 to help your stats. This is when you have to actually come up big.
Yep.
And I hate to say this but Boston seems like they're destined to go back to the World Series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. As good as the Astros are, and I think the Astros are a better team, slightly, not a lot. I just think Boston, this team just has what it takes to win games. They beat the best team in the American League pretty handily.
Yeah.
Without their best pitchers available.
I don't think you can argue with the fact that they're playing their best baseball right now, and they were playing decent baseball most of the season too. So
right.
I think that the fact that they handled the Rays the way they handled them, I don't think there's much of a doubt that they can. I'm not saying they will, but I'm not saying I don't think there's much of a doubt that they can beat the Astros. So this may be, hey, you know what, if the Dodgers somehow win tomorrow night, which I honestly don't think is going to happen. I think the Giants will pull it out. But if the Dodgers win, this could be another repeat of the 2018 series.
Yeah. Well, first of all, the Dodgers are going to win. I'll get into that in a second. I'll say that and why it's a bad thing for me.
Okay.
Probably no one shares my opinion, but listen, the only thing I'll say about the Astros, they're like business as usual.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not. I mean, Tampa Bay is. Look, they almost got there last year, right? and ran up against a really good team, and it was exciting. And despite their best efforts, and I think they're a little bit more prone to, when things start to go wrong, you kind of get a little bit shook. Astros are like, yeah, we've been doing this for whether we were cheating or not, or whether we got caught or not, or whatever. We've been doing this for years, and they're probably, of any of the teams in the playoff this year, going to be the least shook by a potential team of destiny. Which I agree with you, but it seems like Boston is. So
this is gonna be a great series, and whether it was Boston and Tampa or Boston, I think all three of those teams are what just three really, really good teams. And you're right. I think Boston just seems to be executing at a higher level than some other teams.
Well, see, that's the thing I was going to say about Tampa Bay. Something that was kind of occurred to me is when you play the way they do, right? And everybody's using more pitchers and using them strategically, right? But they're really kind of the epitome of that style, right? They're using 4, 5, 6 pitchers every game. And it's one of those situations where the more moves you make, the more they kind of all or almost all have to go right. And it's the more opportunities for things to go wrong for that guy who's been rock solid for the past 22 innings to suddenly give up, 3 runs and it's tough to, and Boston, I think, for whatever reason, Boston teams just have this devil may care. I'm looking for the right cliche. Just the words, we're going to go for it. And they're not that they're not a good team, but it's like they don't care. They just play like they don't care. Well, if they're not going to get eliminated, they're like, all right, if we're going to go for it, and if we get them, great, we win. If we lose, we'll get them tomorrow. That it just doesn't seem like anything kind of rattles them.
It sounds like what they said today was that they were kind of motivated by some of the things that were said in Game 1 by the Rays. Now, if you're a baseball player playing in October in the major leagues, you should need to be motivated. But these are young guys essentially who sometimes that's the case. And I would agree with you. It's not as if they're playing like they don't care. It's playing like they're actually playing. And with the emphasis on the word play.
Yeah.
They're playing a good time. They've got some fire in it, and they give a shit. They're not playing scared. The
point is
they played scared. The White Sox played scared.
Yeah. No, my point is they don't. If they lose a game, they don't go, oh crap. No. They're just like, we'll get them tomorrow. And it kind of reminds me of some of those 2000s teams. They're not quite as goofy goofball.
Right.
A lot harder. I don't know. You're a Yankee fan. I would think this is a Boston team that's a lot harder to hate than that goofball crew from the 2000 whatevers.
I never really hate the Boston players with the exception of Pedro. I hate their fans. So,
but I mean, this team just seems a little bit more likable.
They are, and they're a little bit more unknown, and they're built. And this is a point that I've been trying to make about baseball. They're not one dimensional,
right?
And so they've got guys who could. If you look at the Astros, you look at even Tampa Bay, because Randy Arozarena is one of the most gifted, fundamental young baseball players I have ever seen. And they're loaded with guys like that. But Boston's pitching, like you said, performed better. And that lineup just showed up. Mm-hmm. And some of these teams that added guys like Schwarber, all these ex-Cubs who made a pretty big impact in the playoffs so far.
Yeah.
It's just they're bringing a little bit of that, not only veteran leadership, but this kind of, hey, guys, it's still a game. I'm happy to be here. Now, I want to win, and I'm going to do everything I can, but it's a game. Mm-hmm. And from the position players especially, Boston just played really fun. They're just playing really good fundamental baseball.
Absolutely.
And so did Tampa. And that's why I think Boston is the team to beat, because Boston just beat a very good team that actually played a pretty good series.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Agreed. 100%.
Now, back to the Dodgers.
Go for the Dodgers. What's your take?
Of course they were going to win. I don't know. They're just, to me, they're just like the most boring, predictable, white bread.
I love them. I love them.
Will Smith,
come on.
I love
both these teams.
I mean,
because they have baseball players on.
You got Mookie Betts and you got Kenley Jansen, and then just like a cavalcade of milk-faced.
Nothing.
I
don't care what they look like or what nationality they are.
No, they're just
as a Yankee fan.
I don't think milk-face is a nationality.
Well, I know what he means. He's saying they're white.
It's not so much white; it's bland, is what I mean.
I think he's going bland.
Look, I'll take all of them because they built a tremendous team, and the San Francisco team is great too. And with watching all of these catchers. As a Yankees fan, just watching all of these catchers, including what's his name on Boston, who came in and hit that pinch hit, 2-run homer.
Yeah.
Watching Will Smith, watching Buster Posey,
which just annoys me. Hurts
well,
me,
of course, but and
go to the team and go to the World Series.
But I know what annoys you even more, maybe, John.
What's that?
Darno.
Oh well, yeah. Darno.
Look, Buster Posey is going to go down as being in the top 5 greatest catchers of all time. And here's the reason why, is that he does what a catcher does. He also hits. And that pitching staff, nobody has caught more postseason shutouts than Buster Posey. And that's, in an era where it's really harder to pitch a shutout, that's saying something. That's, again, yes, he's had some good pitchers, but it's not a coincidence that he's the guy behind the plate when that happens.
Mm-hmm. But the Dodgers are going to win. It's all for naught for San Francisco because the Dodgers, and that's
I think this is the top. I think this. Most people think San Francisco's favored in this.
I don't care who's favored. The Dodgers are going to win.
I mean, if they're going back to San Francisco, I just think that it's. I don't know. I think that the Giants will win this. I mean. Hey, look, I'm not saying they're going to blow them out by any means. It's going to be a good game, way or the other.
I think it's a complete toss-up. And if Atlanta can beat either of these teams 2 or 3 games, then and make this a series in the next round, then this is the story of the year. Right. Because that Atlanta team basically started playing after the trade deadline. They had the luxury of being in a league that didn't require them, or a division that didn't require them to win many games, and a couple of the other teams started to tail off. But this is Atlanta is proof that if you have the right people making those moves, that you can take a team that's floundering around 500 and turn them into a championship contender if you make the right moves.
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Well,
there's no way the Giants win tonight. That's all I'm saying.
You don't think so?
Fate loves because then you can have the colorful, fun-loving Boston. What's the name?
Red Sox.
The Red Sox against the almost perennial losers, but we're going to get there again.
But see what's going to happen then is if it's the Red Sox and the Dodgers again, like a repeat of the 2018 series, all we're going to hear about is the Dodgers will definitely win now because the only reason the Red Sox won in 2018 is because they cheated and
the Red Sox
back and
the Red Sox didn't cheat. The Astros cheated.
Well, no. Well, they're saying the Red Sox. They're going to bring it up because Alex Cora was there. So.
Cheat all you want. I don't give a shit. Bring the garbage cans to the Bronx. Fucking figure out a way to win a goddamn championship. If you cheat, go for it. I don't fucking give a shit. I'm not going to take anything away from anybody. Look, if you have Atlanta, San Francisco, LA, okay, Boston. Those are 4 amazing baseball towns with great storied franchises. Sure. So, and Houston's turning into one of those perennial teams that This
is their fifth ALCS.
They also know how to win. So, I mean, look, Boston. I figured it would be either Boston or Tampa and Houston. It's Houston and Boston, which is a little bit, but still not that shocking. And you're going to have either LA or San Francisco, which we knew one of them. This should be the National League Championship Series. It's not. It's the division series. Yeah. But and then we got a little bit of a surprise with Atlanta making it, but not that big, considering that Milwaukee kind of faltered down the backside of the season and was challenged by St. Louis. Milwaukee, people forget Milwaukee was up by like 18 games or something. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, look,
but that was a monumental effort on the part of St. Louis.
And if Milwaukee had made it, if it was Milwaukee instead of Atlanta, I think it would be just as good because that's also a great baseball town. So I think this has been the best playoff series in a long time. What I also love is we're having extra inning games that are normal extra inning games.
Right. No extra eighth inning.
Yeah, I think it's been great. And look, you could say what you want. Your hatred or dismissal of the Dodgers is my dismissal of the Red Sox because I feel like it's the same thing there. I will give the Red Sox credit, though. The Red Sox, even after Theo Epstein left, have been able to make moves. They make a lot of managerial moves. They make a lot of roster moves. They lost Mookie Betts. Okay. They've dealt with their share of injuries. They're an organization that seems to have their eye on where baseball is right now.
Right.
And the Dodgers do, and the Astros do. And if you look at the lineups of these teams, including much of the Atlanta lineup, the best players in baseball are playing right now in October. Mm-hmm. It's never been more evident that these are the most complete teams playing the most fundamental baseball.
I'm just saying that there's nothing about the Dodgers that makes me want to root for them.
Oh, just watching them hit singles, putting the bat on the ball, not striking out 600 times. Oh, watching pitchers go into the 5th and 6th inning without giving up 7 runs. It's so refreshing.
It's all right. And then the wonderful anti baseball that ends games is always a home run. And that's for all these teams. Well, almost.
And
yeah,
a lot of these games are ending home run.
Yeah. You know what though?
It's just nothing about the Dodgers I find exciting.
Well, it's like it still irks me that Travis d'Arnaud is still playing in the playoffs. Kevin Plawecki is still playing in the playoffs. Wilmer Flores is still playing in the playoffs. Yeah, well, Justin Turner is still playing in the playoffs.
Because if you're on the right team, surrounded by the right people and with the right coaching staff.
I'm not saying that I didn't want them to still be playing in the playoffs. It would have been nice, though, if they were still playing in the playoffs on the Mets.
Well, they would never be in the playoffs, but
yeah, that's the problem.
That's my point.
I get it.
Well, maybe if they still had all of them,
right?
Then might have at least made it to a wild card playoff,
right? Something
1 game playoff.
But what are you gonna do? Yeah, at least they're there, right?
Yeah. Anyway. Trust me, losing in a 1-game playoff game it's better to not make the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I personally think the Giants will win tomorrow night. It's tomorrow night or tonight? It's tomorrow night.
Tonight.
Is it tonight?
Oh, no, wait. What is today? Oh, no, it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow night. Yeah. They played. They just played last night. So
there's no baseball game today.
Yeah, there's nothing. So. Yeah,
tomorrow the NHL is opening night.
Let's not. Yeah, who cares?
Let's start. Yeah,
that's why they can't have any baseball.
I think, especially after a weird year, I think this has been. I've been glued to these baseball games. I think
they've been
great.
pretty.
The games have been exciting, but overall, I don't know.
A little lackluster.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't agree.
2-1 and winning 3-1 is just not.
I love it.
I love it. I want game 5s. I want.
Yeah,
I want full series.
You have the ultimate game 5 for 2 teams that won 213 games combined in the regular season. You have game 5 at home, which is 1 game separated who plays game 5 at home. You have the 2 best teams in baseball playing a game 5. Now, I would argue that I would rather see the Dodgers and the Giants play in a 7-game series because I think that's it. But I actually agree with John. I think this 5-game series, especially with where the Dodgers are right now and having to had played a wild card game, benefits the Giants just based on pitching matchups. Yeah. So,
well, we did. Yeah, right. We did get a game 5 in what's been the most exciting series between the 2 best teams.
Right.
I'm just saying the other ones, it's just not,
Yeah.
Because if the team that's down 2-1 wins, okay, well, now we're setting up a game 5. It just doesn't have that same atmosphere. It's a winning moment for one team, right. Yes, but there's that cushion.
We almost had it. We almost had a game 5 with Atlanta and Milwaukee. It was,
Yep.
Could have gone either way.
Yep.
And look, Boston turned that series around. They came up big, and they weren't going to let it go to a game 5.
Well, and it looked like Tampa Bay a little earlier in that game, they kind of woke up and got out of their funk a little bit. But Boston was right there to answer at every turn. So
look, in a 5-game series, if you're the visiting team and you win one of those first 2 games on the road, you are setting yourself up for much bigger success than if it was a 7-game series and you won one of those first 2 games on the road.
Right.
It's just it completely flips the dynamics of the series, and that's what Boston did. It's obviously what Atlanta did, and we're seeing a Game 5 after a bunch of back and forth games between San Francisco and the Dodgers. This is going to be good. I still think the Dodgers, the injuries for the Dodgers, losing arguably their best pitcher and arguably their best hitter. I mean, what other team can survive that?
They just plug another guy in.
Yeah, I know. They're a systems team.
It's a systems team.
I mean, Mac, I feel bad for Muncy. I feel bad for Kershaw, too. I mean, these are guys that it just seems it's just bad luck getting hurt at this time of the year. But
No, screw Kershaw.
Screw
him and his California blonde locks and his beautiful blue eyes. Go to hell.
Yeah.
Sounds like you really do want to screw.
His beautiful blonde locks.
Screw him and his
screw him good. Oh, hey, I got a question for you guys.
What's that? Is that a Kershaw doll that you have in the corner?
Not yet.
It's plastic and blow up.
A little bit of makeup and a wig, and it will be. I got a question for you guys.
All right.
What's that?
Who gets home field in the World Series?
The American League, because they won the All-Star game.
No.
Really?
Nope.
Yeah, it's different.
It's different this year.
Mm-hmm. Why? Well, why they were saying that during the All-Star game, though. Why is it different this year? What is
I don't know why they're doing it differently, but according to Major League Baseball,
they would know.
You would think,
right? The American League did win the All-Star game, though, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Hosting privileges for the 2021 Fall Classic will go to the team with the best regular season winning percentage.
Okay.
If each of the World Series teams have the same regular season winning percentage, the tiebreakers are thus: whichever league champion had the better record in head-to-head matchups against the other league champion during the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
If that's either,
that's the way it should be.
It should be. No, but it's possible. I mean, not everybody played every team this year, right?
No.
Yeah, so they might not have any games, or they might have played an even number of games and split. Then it would be the league champion with the better record against teams in its own division.
Well, the two teams that had the same record were the Yankees and the Red Sox. Everybody else, there was nobody else in the playoffs with the same record as anybody else. So Atlanta has no shot at having, even if they make it, has no shot at getting the home field. And it's either going to be the Dodgers or the Giants, should they make it in the one of those two teams.
Yeah, Boston. Well, let's see.
No, Houston had a better record, so it'll either be
Houston had a winning percentage.
Yeah, unless Atlanta wins.
If Atlanta wins and Boston wins, it's in Boston.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the only way either Boston or Houston hosts or is the home team is if Atlanta wins in the National League.
Otherwise, then it's
Otherwise, it's the winner of the Giants Dodgers.
Dodgers, yeah.
There we go.
There you go.
So
I like that. Hey, you heard it here. You heard it here. A change that Major League Baseball did that I like. There is something to be said about being rewarded for the regular season.
This is true.
Oh, now here's the fun part.
But wait, there's more.
Well, wait. There's a little, as the story calls it, a potential quirk, thanks to the Dodgers.
Isn't that in space? That's quark.
Quark, yeah.
Quark, yeah.
The Dodgers had to beat the Cardinals in the wild card game.
Right.
Should Los Angeles prevail in Game 5, it would not enjoy home field advantage against the NL East champion Braves in the best of 7 NLCS because
they're
wild card status.
But they would see. That's the crazy thing. They wouldn't have it in the championship series, but they would have it in
the World Series.
Yeah.
Look,
so here we go. All right. So the Giants are at 660. The Dodgers are at 654. The Astros are at 586. Red Sox 568. Well, that's nice. And the Braves at 547.
Look, is it time to get rid of the divisions? Just have a National League and an American League. Have everybody play each other the same amount of times, and the top 3 teams make it in, and
and a wild card,
and then the wild card game, and then whoever has the best record has the home, field advantage throughout. I mean, I know that goes against tradition, and it goes traditionally against what I have to say about a lot of things.
Well, there's only been divisions since 1995.
Right. No, right. There were divisions.
Central and West. There was East and West. There was East and West.
There was two.
East and West. Yeah, and that was early 70s.
And it was just the winners of those two that played for the pennant.
Right.
I mean, at some point, think about how the Braves, by being a team that won almost 20 less games, right? No, more than 20, almost 30 less games than the Dodgers, benefits from playing in a shitty division. Yeah. Because they actually won a division. This is
but that's not their fault.
It's not their fault, but I'm not blaming them, but they shouldn't have home field advantage. And the team with the second best record in baseball should never again have to play in a one-game wild card game. Well, that's my opinion.
You're not going to get any disagreement from this panel.
I don't necessarily disagree with that. No, I don't. But
wouldn't that make I think it would make the regular season much more balanced. Obviously, you wouldn't have the Mets playing the Braves 20 times and the Yankees playing the Red Sox and Orioles, all those stuff. But it would split it up a little bit more so that everybody plays pretty much the same amount of teams. Right. And it would make it fair.
Yeah, you're not playing like, for instance, just take the NL East. Obviously, this refers to every division.
Everybody gets to beat up on the Marlins, the
Mets aren't
not the Mets. Yeah,
right. But I'm just saying the Mets aren't playing the Marlins, the Nationals, the Phillies, and the Braves 37 times each.
Right.
It's more balanced. It's just ridiculous when it comes.
I mean, it probably hurt. Like this year, it would probably hurt a team like the Mets. Their record would probably, maybe not be as good as it was. It might help a team. I mean,
it certainly would have helped the Reds and the Cardinals even a little bit more. And
I don't know. It might have hurt them because they were beating up on some bad teams in that division.
Yeah, well, I suppose so.
Yeah, but if you get rid of the divisions, though, you can't have 6 playoff teams, though.
You have to have 5. 3 and then 2 playing.
No, but I mean, you shouldn't have a wild card, though.
Why not?
You have to have a wild card because there's only 3 divisions.
So you just have the top 4 teams?
Well, no, but he's saying get rid of the divisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, what you do is you have the top 5. You have the top.
I'm saying
you have the top 5 teams in each league. And the top team is seed number 1. Second team is seed number 2. Then number 3, and then the 4 and 5 seeds
top seed
play
gets
each
a
other.
bye?
No.
4 what's the point of having 107 wins if you have to win just as many playoff games? Everybody,
if you have 107 wins, you don't have to play a wild card game.
You don't play a wild card.
And you get the top seed. And yes. you don't lose out on home field advantage to a team that won 30 less games than you in a division that sucked.
Seeds 4 and 5 play each other in a 1-game wild card game, and then winner of that game plays seed number 1, and the seed number 2 plays seed number 3. That's what he's saying. Assuming that's what you're saying.
I'll go even further. I'm with you. Get rid of the fucking wild card game.
Yeah,
just have the top 4 teams in each league.
You can do that too.
Each other. I'm all right with that. Baseball
1 plays 4, 2 plays 3, 1 and 2.
You got to have these fucking wild card games.
Yeah,
you know why you have to have the wild card games, right?
That's for money.
It's an extra day of money. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather see. This is counterintuitive to the argument we're making here, but I'd rather see 4 divisions in each league. East and West.
Because that's going to dilute it even more.
No. You have East and West, okay, and each one has a North and a South.
Right.
So then you get to the end of the season.
So then maybe the Marlins come out of the East and go to the South.
The number 1 team in the North plays the number 1 team in the South, and same thing in the Western North. Northwest, Southwest, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
And then those 2 teams play. So you have your 5-game series, and you have your 7-game league championship series, and then your World Series.
What that does is it takes away the penalty of the wild card team. I get it. But I'd rather just let's make it democratic so that every year everybody plays. How many teams in the American League? How many teams in the National League?
15 and 15.
15 and 15. All right. So you can't have. You'd have to have maybe 1 extra game against somebody to make it to
every week, right? Every day, every week, every series. There's at least 1 American League team playing 1 National League team because
it's 14.
Unless you have 2 expansion teams, unless they bring it to 16 total, which at some point they're going to, but it's not going to remain 15 forever. But who the hell knows when that's going to be? I'm just saying right now there's always got to be crossover. So there's going to be interleague play. That's a given.
Probably, you know what? Probably what will happen is if we can actually beat the pandemic, then
bless you. You couldn't even time that any better.
No, perfect. Then that might be a time when
bless
people
you,
will. I mean, not that they're not already flocking to the.
Oh, they don't give a fucking shit.
No, but I mean, everybody will be able to, and
even in the bluest of stadiums.
All right,
I know, but I'm just saying they'll say the doors are wide open. We're back to regularness. And everybody loves baseball again. So let's bring in. But I don't know. You can't bring in 2 extra teams in the same year, can you?
Why not?
So why do we have to? So why do? All right. So you have to. You have an American League and a National League. Mm-hmm. Okay. Every team plays 1 series against 3 games against every team from the opposite league. Okay. So there's 30. There's 15 teams, so you play
45 games.
45 games. The rest of the 162 minus 45, you play against your league, which is 117 games. I mean, I might have to add a game or lose a game, but divided by 15 is approximately 8 games, 7 games between every other team. That's plenty. 8 games. I don't care if we actually add a couple games. I'm all right with that. Right. But that's how. But you
probably want to play a couple more games against your. Oh no, but there's no. You're saying with no divisions.
Yep, no divisions.
Well, you could do the same thing even with divisions. All right, you really can.
But how do you divide? How do you divide
the divisions? No, I want the best 4 teams playing in each league at the end of. I want the best 8 teams in baseball playing at the end of the regular season.
Why can't they make a schedule?
Then you have 4.
I just did.
Then you have 4 divisions.
But that's without divisions. I'm saying you could do the same thing with divisions.
Why? What's the point of divisions?
I understand that, but to go back to 2 leagues with no divisions isn't going to happen.
Why not? Well, I think it'd be wonderful.
I think if you could figure out how to divide 117 evenly by 14, then you've got something.
Right. Well, it's called adding a game or subtracting it. But or a couple games, and which I think people would be fine with too. But everybody plays 1 series, 3 games against every team in interleague play every year. Okay, so every other year, you're guaranteed that your team, all right, that you like, that if you're living in another city, will come to visit your city. Okay, which is great. Okay, sure. and then every team play. I mean, 8 games against every other team. That's plenty. And it makes it much fairer. I stand by this.
So I like that. Actually, draw that up and send it because we're going to put that up on. We're going to put that up on a poll on the.
8 is 112.
Okay.
So you either have to subtract 5 games, or you've got to add.
No, you play 1 extra game against
more.
You play 1 extra game against the teams in your division.
No,
and 1 extra game.
No, there's no divisions.
No, there's no divisions.
Oh, that's right.
We got 30 teams, right?
Right.
Total?
Yeah.
Okay. First thing is we get rid of 3 teams. So that means that you play 45 games a year, okay, against those 15 teams. So 15 times 3 is 45, right?
Right.
Okay.
Correct.
Then you're going to play 14 other teams, right?
8 times.
8 times, which is 112 games.
So now you got
45 is equal to it's 157 games. Perfect.
5 games, or you just change the schedule.
Perfect. You raise
the 5 games.
You raise the ticket price 16 cents to make up for those 5 games.
or
imagine having 1 less week in the season. I think it would be great.
I think you're going to get a lot of backlash from the first time somebody, almost breaks a record. And they go, oh, crap. If
we had those 5 other games.
Now we're going to have another whole set of asterisks.
Well, what if we added more games? Because back in the day, they had less than 162.
Well, you want to add,
hasn't been
but in order to get to that next 14, you got to add 9 more games.
That's fine.
That's easy for you. Now they're going to play 171?
166.
171.
Oh.
It's 162, and then you got to add 9 more. So they're going to want more money.
14 times 9 is 126 plus 45. Yeah, it's 171.
Yeah.
I say you pay the players the same. You go down to 157 games. And here's how I'll add it back. Every series is 7 games.
I'm fine with that. What did it used to be before it was 162? 156?
150, I thought it used to be way back in the day. Something
it was 154.
154.
Always was 154, and then they raised it 8 games.
And the pennant was 5 games, and the World Series was 7.
Yep.
So
the only 7-game series was the World Series.
So you have the first round, the division series, 7 games. Then you have the championship series, 7 games. Then you have the World Series, 7 games. I think that levels the playing field because now you got to beat somebody 4 games, and it's going to make the best team win.
Right. I get you. It's not a bad idea.
Whose alarm is going off?
That's my phone.
All right. That's all the time we have.
Next on. No. I do. We got to hold on. There's a couple of comments that just came in. Oh, no. Never mind. We got to block them.
It's that guy again. See, I like the 4 divisions, but then with the 15 teams, then you got to have that extra team in the one division that screws everything up.
I don't like divisions. Just American League, National League. You play everybody this way. You got to beat you got to play. Everybody has the same schedule.
If you add 2 teams,
no more adding teams.
But the other thing is,
add 6 weeks to the calendar of the year. Not even the schedule.
God,
just
no more teams.
Add another month.
If we go back to the Roman calendar,
there's some people in Kansas City
when the year was 58 weeks long.
You can get rid of the Royals. I don't give a shit. I'll go watch the Cubs.
Well, the other thing is these are all
teams.
Great to talk about, but none of this
They're
stuff
the Royal Cubs.
None of this stuff would ever happen.
No.
The players are never going to agree to 170 because the owners are never going to agree to that extra money.
I just said it. I'm giving you the same amount of money for less regular season games. You might have to play for those teams that make it. You might have to play a couple.
Yeah, but you got to remember
games.
too the extra postseason games that you're talking about. Okay, because you're talking about losing a wild card. So you're talking about the top 4, right? So now you're losing 4 games. You're losing the 4 wild card games.
I'm okay. I'm okay with if we keep the wild card.
All right. So even if you keep the wild card, then that's fine. That stays the same. But you're increasing.
Then why are we even doing this for?
Because the best team. Because then you don't have the Dodgers going to play the fucking Braves for 4 games in a championship series when the Dodgers won 30 more games. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then, but what you do is if you keep that the same. Now, are you talking about having the wild card be just a 1-game playoff or a 3-game series or something?
I would prefer not to have the wild card. And it makes sense. Fuck the money. You'll figure it out. They're all fucking overpaid from the players to the goddamn owners. They're all fucking overpaid.
Right.
Okay.
So, and it's not like you want to get rid of 90 games. You're talking about 5 games.
About 5 games.
5 games. So.
And it helps because look, for Kansas City to have the Yankees come to them every other year and Boston come to them, it's going to bring more revenue into those stadiums because the big name teams are going to be visiting those smaller market teams more often.
If this is a bone of contention, they could. I know what you're saying with 8 games each. It's an 8 games, so it's 2 4-game series, or whatever it is against each other team throughout.
You get 4 games at home and
4 games at home and 4 games away. Right? Yeah. Right. So that's it. All right. So those extra 5 games, they rotate each year. Doesn't matter. No divisions, no nothing, but it rotates each year.
Why do we have to make it complicated? Why do we have to make it complicated?
Well, whatever. I'm just saying that there's your other 5 games. There's your 5 games. That's
the other thing you have to consider is say goodbye to the weekend series.
Why? Thursday, Friday,
because
Saturday.
now, Thursday night you're going to compete with
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's it. We have plenty of 4-game series going on.
It's not a golf tournament.
Right.
Those weekend series, that's big money. That's when people go out to see, especially those.
You'll be playing every weekend.
No, I know, but there won't be a finality until that final game, and you can't always,
and how are you
always have it start on Thursday? Sometimes it's going to be like Monday's going to be game 4, and
that's why they have 3-game series too, because even if you're playing, if you don't get a day off, you're playing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
You could go 3-3-2.
Yeah, you can do that. There are 2-game series, so you can do that too. That's possible.
Every problem is solvable.
Yeah, it's more travel though.
It's less travel because you're playing less games. You guys are thinking about it like major league executives. I'm thinking about it as a fan.
Well, it's great as a fan. I'm just but the fans don't get to make the decisions about whether this happens. And you're gonna be paying guys the same money for 5 less games.
There's less series, so it's less travel overall.
So let's
but now you're bouncing back and forth in extra time.
No, you're not, because
you come here.
No, because
I go there, you come here.
It's just a 2-game series as opposed to a 3 or 4-game series.
Okay, but if it's 3 and then 3, and then who gets the 2?
Every year,
1 and 1.
Every year rotates.
Every year rotates.
Yeah. Now it's not even.
All right, so 4 and 4.
You can't do 4 and 4.
You can
because
you
it's 7 days in a week. That's why.
Yes.
You know.
And you might have to have a deciding game on a Monday or a Tuesday.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? Then you have maybe a day off.
Right, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And
then you get Saturday off.
Start a new series on a Saturday. It just doesn't. The math just doesn't work out.
Well, one of those games might have to be a doubleheader.
Or you got 14 different teams.
How about every one of the Friday or Saturday games is a doubleheader? I still think the 3-3-2 works
the
because
players are going to agree to that every weekend. You got to play a doubleheader now.
You got to remember too. You're also playing 3 games against every team in the other league too, so you can have them use your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday games, or the occasional, depending on the matchup, Friday, Saturday, Sunday game, and then you can have a doubleheader for your one of your 4-game series for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in another city or something.
Yeah, but you're also
can work out.
But you're also talking about East and West.
You guys do realize that you don't always get that day off, and if you're on a homestand, you could play those consecutive games.
No, I understand, but you also don't regularly travel, let's say, from Los Angeles to New York to play Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then have to fly back and start a 4-game set on Thursday.
I'm not saying you do.
Well, you don't have to do that because you don't have to go a home and home series consecutively, like one and then go back.
I'm not saying that the team in the East is going to fly back.
It still can be.
It can work out. We're making too much.
Right.
The 3-3. We have a lot of 2-game series already. We have a lot of 1-game series, by the way. Makeup games. We have We had a lot of 7-inning double headers this year.
You're going to say double 7 innings.
Yeah, well, that's
14-inning games. That's basically what it is. 14-inning game. With different.
I think it could work, and I think just this is what it used to be.
Yeah,
this is what it used to be.
Look, are you going to have a 7-inning double headers every weekend? Or are we going to go back to?
You don't have to have double headers every weekend.
You don't have to.
You can.
But when you do have a double header, it's a 9-inning game. Screw the 7-inning shit. But
they have to change that then.
I have to. Yeah.
But they're not going to want to do that.
The other thing,
I'm just throwing wrenches here because
I understand what you're saying, but
that's what everybody's going to do.
Let's be realistic here. None of this is going to happen because Rob Manfred wants all the money possible into the league, and we're not going to get rid of the wild card games. We're going to have more wild card games. We're not getting rid of divisions. We're going to have more games. We're going to have they want more and more money. More and more games equals more and more money. So they're not going to change. They're going to add more teams and keep the same amount of games. And then that's going to keep the same amount of teams for each team. So that's going to increase. So I love what you're saying. I get the direction. I mean, obviously it would have to be fine tuned, but I really like that idea. It's never going to happen because it's not. This is a business now. It's not. What
but you can still make
how
much? What fucking money do you want? And how do you?
TV.
You just divide it. That's fine. Then you raise the rates of TV and lose 5 games and make it up in the postseason. Mm. Trust me. Yes, I understand why they're trying to do it. They're not doing it for money, John. They're not doing all these. The fucking Miami Marlins play the Los Angeles Dodgers. Oh, no. The Marlins won 51 games. The Dodgers won 137. 1-game series, and the Dodgers pitcher has to start with his arm tied behind his back. They're doing it to get viewers.
That would make money.
They're doing it to get viewers. They think this is going to get them, the people who are dancing on fucking TikTok to watch baseball. And in the meantime, they're losing their actual fans. Right. I saw plenty of young, old, barely breathing on both ends of the dial in the stands at every stadium this weekend. Right. Why? Because it was playoff baseball. That's why. Yeah. And it was good games, and their team was there.
And why don't we just go? Why they won't have to do anything sensible.
So then why don't we just get rid of the divisions, right? And just have and add doesn't matter whether you add teams or not. Doesn't matter. 15 teams.
No more teams.
Okay, no more teams.
No
15 teams
more
per.
teams.
It's fine. But then when it comes to playoff time, do what the NHL and what the NBA does, and the top 8 teams go there. 8 plays 1, 2 plays 7. Blah 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 blah. I'm kidding. That's not going to happen. I'm just saying.
No, there's still quirks in the NBA with the division winners and the non-division winners.
Well, look, let's look at. Oh, I just closed all my baseball stuff. So who were who had the best 4? Who were the best 4 teams in each league?
The Dodgers, the Giants, the
Brewers,
and the Cardinals.
And the Cardinals, yeah.
And in the
the Cardinals had a better record than the Braves. Yeah, you're right.
And in the American League, it was the
Rays,
the Astros, the Yankees, and the Red Sox.
Yep.
All right, so there's your 8 playoff teams.
Mm-hmm.
Why not just do it that way?
Because the Yankees and Red Sox have to play the Blue Jays and they have to play better teams way more often. Same thing with the Dodgers.
It doesn't level the playing field.
The
level in the playing field.
But the playing field
doesn't let the Atlanta Braves have home field in a fucking championship series when they won 80-something games.
It's never going to level the playing field.
It will level it.
It's always going to be better. So getting rid of divisions, you're saying will level it.
Having every team play every team an equal amount every year will level it. Yes. And I think it'd be good for baseball, and I think it'd be really good for the small market teams, and and good for the big market teams too.
I agree with you. Actually, I think it causes too many problems. There's too many things that have to be changed. That these guys can't agree on.
I know.
Yeah.
I understand. That
it
won't happen.
These changes that were made,
but it makes complete sense to me.
With the runner on second base and the extra innings and the 7-inning double headers and whatever other stupid things Look,
I am available to be the commissioner of baseball.
Please.
I'm also available to be the manager of the Yankees, and at the very least, I could be the third base coach.
Can you do all 3?
Yeah.
Can I be the water boy?
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Can I be the bartender?
The water man.
The water.
Look,
imagine me jogging out on the field with the Gatorade here.
We make things way more complicated. And the team in your division, it's not as far to travel. It's closer to go to Chicago than it is to Tampa. You know what I mean? For some of these teams, it doesn't make that big a difference. And you're saying, well, okay, so you have a first 3-game series in the beginning of in the first 2 months, then you have another one in the middle of the season, and then you have that 2-game series against, you schedule it against then you have those in September and October. It would make for, I'll tell you what, you would start to see better races, and and here's the only way you have a wild card game, okay, is if
there's a tie.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what used to happen. It wasn't a wild card game. It was just a 1-game playoff, which is exactly the same damn thing as a wild card team. But now you're not.
No,
now they don't. No, it is, because now they're not. It's the same thing. They're just not.
No, but the Red Sox played the Yankees to determine who wins the American League East. The Yankees didn't play.
Right.
Right.
No.
The Red Sox to determine who gets to go to the next round.
Right. I understand that. It's not because there's divisions, but without divisions, it would be the same thing as wild cards. Correct. Because if there were to be wild cards, it would be the same thing. If there was a tie, that's what it was, and only because it was a tie. But you go back. What was it? A couple of times. The Mets played the Cubs. Was it 97 or no? It was 98. I forget. But the Mets played the Cubs in a 1-game playoff, and they did it again earlier than that. I forget which year it was. But so I mean, essentially that was your wild card game. It was your 1-game playoff. But they didn't get to put up a banner saying we were the wild card team this year and lost the game. But they still got the banner up. So
I would much rather not see a team have to use one of its best pitchers to win 1 game against a team that won 30 less games to them to give them a disadvantage in the next round. I would rather see the top 4 teams play each other in the order that they're supposed to, based on regular season pairings, based on a parity of schedule.
That was well said. I mean, that is another reason for it. Absolutely.
The problem with all of this is that it doesn't It's not designed with the goal.
What's the
that
goal?
Major League Baseball has, which
What's
is
the goal?
to make the most money.
Don't you you don't think that you don't think a 7-game series between the Dodgers and the Giants, or the 7-game series between the Rays and the Red Sox would make more money than that one fucking wild card game we had in each division?
Sure. Do you think that these guys haven't thought of this before?
I don't know. Maybe
it
doesn't surprise me.
I think they've crunched the numbers over and over, and this is the way that makes the most money.
Mm-hmm.
And it might even only be a little bit more.
It could be $5. They're not changing it.
I think a lot of it has to do with the negotiations between the players' union.
Well, that's the other thing too. You got to get everybody on the same page.
Everybody has to agree to it.
Here's how you get on the same page. You're making a shit ton of money for playing a game. Okay, if you don't like it, go find a job somewhere else.
If you crunch the numbers and say, "Hey, everyone's going to make more money if we do it this way,"
right?
Then you could probably get people to agree.
Yeah.
There's one way of doing that. So yes, you have 5 less games potentially. Okay, right. I understand that that's a big number when you add that to each team, but baseball you're not in small market towns. You can go to a baseball game. The other thing too is that there were a lot of empty seats this year in baseball stadiums. Now you could say some of that was the pandemic. Okay, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that there's too many games. So when I see empty seats behind home plate at Yankee Stadium in September, you kind of have to start to wonder, maybe having the Red Sox only come to town once or twice, maybe that makes it a little bit more worthwhile.
Right. Yeah, because they're definitely going to catch that series because
there isn't
another one. Yeah.
You're talking about, what are we talking about? 15 times 5.
That was well put.
Games, right?
15 times 3. 3 games.
We're talking about five less games.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Well, no,
30
or 30.
Yeah.
Right. So 150 less games. That's a lot of TV.
Well, that's where I was going before.
Okay, then add the extra games. Then add games. Then make it 9 and add the games.
That's the only way this would work, is to add 9 games and go to a 171 game schedule. So it's
and then everybody plays everybody 9.
But then it's 3 game series.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Right. But you also have the
and they'll
number.
And if you have that, because every series at that point is a 3-game series, so you'll always have, if they're going to play Friday, Saturday, Sunday games, then you either got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So you're always going to have a game, a day off every week. Every team's going to have a day off. Some teams don't. Some weeks.
But you're also
every team at some point doesn't.
You're going to have built-in tiebreakers too,
right? Which is
because
good.
You can't have like a 4-4 split because you're playing 9 games.
Correct.
Right.
So, and there's nothing less satisfying than the Yankees and Mets split 2-2 this year. Like,
Yeah, well, it's always the case.
I'm fine with
this
that.
was the first year
I'm fine
in a long time that happened.
I'm fine with that.
I think you definitely have. I think you'd have more chance of adding games than you would subtracting games.
That's fine. I'm fine with that.
Right.
Add 9 games. It's 171. You're extending the season a week roughly. Yeah. So it's maybe you'll start a little bit into March and a little bit into October, a little bit more into October, and the World Series isn't finishing until the first week of November anyway. So what's the difference? And
but see now you've got here's another issue to deal with. You've got weather.
We always have weather.
Yeah, I know, but there's a lot of teams that don't start they almost never have a home opener at home, or rarely have a home opener at home because they're Colorado or wherever it's cold and it might be snowing. Now you're going to start the season a week early, and then maybe teams that are, when's the World Series going to end? November?
Well, no, you don't have to extend it because that's where doubleheaders come into play. You don't schedule any doubleheaders except for makeup games because of weather. And you just play them in your next series. So if you have to miss, if there's a 3-game series, you have to miss one of them because of weather. When you're playing, whatever, it is what it is.
I know. But I'm just saying,
it's still an even amount of games. You can't do everything. You can't bring them back for one game.
No, I know. But then you potentially have a team that doesn't get to play its first 3 games because there's a snowstorm or a tornado.
Or they play in the snow. Football plays in the snow. Deal with it. Figure out a way to do it.
No, you can't hit a baseball. No.
Why not?
Because they're
It'll
white.
be entertaining. Why not?
Make the ball black. Maybe.
I'm not talking about a blizzard, all right? I'm talking about
I'm talking about snow that you can't, something that's gonna. I don't know. I just think
warm the fields. Put piping throughout the field. So
if everyone's in a dome, then there you go.
Well, they make it
have
mandatory. Every stadium has to have a dome.
Retractable dome. All right, there we go.
We beat this to shit, didn't we?
Talking about baseball. Oh, listen, these are all great ideas.
It's the most interesting conversation we've had in a long time.
I think it is, actually.
Yeah, it's much better than,
just talking about the Mets. Oh, speaking of the Mets.
Oh, God.
No, just one thing. I don't know if you saw. Friends of Billy Beane have come out and said, not just one, several, have come out and said that he would consider the Mets job.
As what, a manager?
As the president.
as a second baseman?
Second base. Second base umpire. Now, as the president, president of baseball operations. Well, isn't that the same thing? So
kind of.
And Showalter did say the other day, if the deal was right, he would consider the Mets job.
Well, those are two things that'll probably never happen because
neither of them are going to happen. No.
Yeah, that's the Mets.
But if Billy Beane does come here, we're not getting Showalter. It's going to be Bob Melvin. That's a given. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, that's fine.
So anyway, and what do you think about Boone, Harry?
They're going to hang on to him, but I want him gone.
Yeah. And I read that review you said you sent us before. What you call it? Pete Rose is not a fan of what the Yankees are doing right now, specifically what they are getting out of Joey Gallo.
Yeah, get in line, Pete. There's a lot of people that aren't fans of what the Yankees are doing right now.
Well, look who's still managing in the playoffs. Yeah. Are any of these guys purely analytics guys? Do any of these guys manage anything like Aaron Boone? I don't think Aaron Boone is a bad manager. I think Aaron Boone is a product a little bit of his GM. I think if you get rid of Aaron Boone and don't get rid of Brian Cashman and the mentality of the Yankees, if I had to pick between one or the other to get rid of, it'd be Cashman. And Cashman's done a lot for the Yankees. It's just they are banking on things that are not working. And you can't do the same thing over and over again. And it's two things with Cashman. He's not pulling the trigger. He's unable to get those free agents or, trade deadline acquisitions that they used to be able to get. And they're putting their money into and potentially backing themselves into the corner with big contracts with these all or nothing sluggers who do not win you, have never won you, and will never win you a championship. Mm-hmm. And I know this is going to sound incredibly controversial, but the biggest decision the Yankees are going to make is how much money they're going to sink into a long-term contract with Aaron Judge. Right. And Aaron Judge is a great player, and he's a wonderful human being, and he's probably maybe the most exciting Yankee since, who knows, Derek Jeter. But has he proven that he's going to be worth the largest contract in baseball or one of the largest contracts in baseball? Right. Do you want two Giancarlo Stanton? Granted, Judge and Stanton both played a lot better this year. But, what are you going to lock him in for 10 years until he's, 40?
Until he's 40.
42? Yeah.
Well, but, you probably won't have to do that with him because he wants to stay a Yankee.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that I think, you could probably 8, I think would be maybe the least. Would you do 8 for Aaron Judge?
I don't know.
I mean, look, like anything else, we always talk about this, right? It's not the last 3 or 4 years of the contract that you're hoping, right? That you're paying it's the first 4 or 5 or whatever it is.
You're paying him for what he's going to do in the first 4 or 5. You're not, and he's just making some of the money that he should have earned up front. Obviously, what he did in the back end. That's what
the Yankees are really relying on 3 guys to support their lineup and have to come through all the time. Mm-hmm. Now, everybody knows it's Stanton and Judge. The other guy who's a big equation and had a down year, even though you see what happens when he's out of the lineup, is LeMahieu. The Yankees' record is atrocious when he's not in the lineup, especially when he's not at the top of the lineup. And I do think DJ will bounce back. There's a lot of guys who hit over 300 who hit, around 280 this year. We're talking about somebody who hit 280 and, played every position on the diamond.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone's worried about him not bouncing back.
But my point being is that I think what everybody's in agreement with, but the Yankees are not going to do is that you have to move on from some players that are going to be hard decisions for a Cashman or even a Boone to swallow their pride and move on for them. Yeah. You got to move on from Sanchez. You got to move on from Glaber and get something for him. You got to take a hard look at Gio Urshela. You got to try to get out of Aaron Hicks' contract. You got to move on from who's the guy who looks like Conan O'Brien, who's got dizzy all year. You got to move Clint Frazier. You got to move on from 97-year-old Brett Gardner. You have to move on from these guys.
Right. And that's 9 guys on the team.
Yeah.
So are you going to be able to rebuild
in
the first 4 years or 5 years of Aaron Judge's contract?
So
how are you going to bring in enough players, good enough players, and or develop some of your young talent to win a championship in the next 5 years?
You mean, how do I find a catcher who can hit better than 190 and know how to tag somebody when they're out by 30 feet?
Well,
that's pretty easy.
Okay, that's one. But
okay, how do I find a third baseman who hits higher than 220 and plays 3/4 of the year? How do I find somebody who can catch the ball at second base or shortstop? I mean, I think it's pretty easy. Other teams have done it.
But you can't just bring in a guy who hits 250 instead of 220 and go, okay, problem solved.
You can if he's a better baseball
you're talking
player.
About competing with Boston, and you're talking about competing with Toronto,
which is exactly what Boston did. Which is exactly what Boston did.
Right. But the Yankees don't do that.
But they need to. They used to. They used to win a World Series, and then when somebody wasn't performing, they wouldn't give him a 15-year contract. They'd move on.
Oh, well, we'll see what shakes out.
You had to bring up the Yankees, didn't you, Jim?
I just asked Boone. I didn't say about the
Yankees. That was only 6 minutes. That was pretty good.
That was good.
Normally you go, hey, Harry, how about those Yankees? And it's 28 minutes later, and we go, all right, let's move on.
It's after I wake up when you guys are talking about the backup second baseman for the Mets who hit 212.
We had 30 seconds of Mets conversation tonight.
I understand that. I'm saying usually.
Usually, right.
And we were talking about guys that aren't even on the Mets, like
exactly.
Billy Beane.
No, I'm kind of talking about guys who aren't on the Yankees.
Right. Or shouldn't be anyway.
I think Billy Beane would be a great fit for the Mets because that's who you need to rebuild a team like the Mets.
Yeah, I really wanted Epstein, but Billy Beane will work. You know what? That's important, very important. But I don't know who he'd wind up picking for the GM position. But Showalter, a guy like Showalter, needs to enough with the robot analytics. I mean, I know that's the future of baseball, and it's already here, or whatever you want to call it. But analytics has to find a way to help.
Right. It's a tool.
Baseball. It's a tool. It has to be a tool. It can't be the whole game.
Look at the guys who are coaching still. Look at the managers that are still on the bench right now. Look at the teams that are still in the playoffs. Right. You can't tell me Tony La Russa manages only by analytics,
right?
Or Dave Roberts or Alex Carr. I mean, these are kind of old school guys who have adapted some of the new school ways. Here's a question though I do have for you guys. If Theo Epstein was to come to New York, okay, do you think he would be more willing to take a position with the current Yankees ownership, assuming Cashman's gone, or the current Mets ownership?
Well, if he gets the position he wants,
right,
it's not going to be whether Cashman's gone or not, because he doesn't want to be GM. He wants to be president of baseball operations or president of the team.
Right. Well,
so he would slot in above.
Do you really need a GM if you have
Well, no. You still need somebody in that title.
My
it doesn't have to be Brian Cashman.
My point being, Cashman would be gone because Cashman would never accept that, nor would Epstein want to come in.
I get it. But yeah, no. I mean, he would probably accept He would probably want the Yankees job before he'd want the matchup. Although then again, the Yankees. I mean, the Yankees are the Yankees, though. He got the Red Sox relevant again. He got and had them start winning World Series.
He got him over the hump. He got him over.
They
were always relative.
No,
you can't say the Cubs and the Red Sox.
No. I got you. I was specifically meaning the World Series.
But they didn't win until he got there.
They didn't win until he got there.
Hey, look, Yankees haven't won a World Series in what?
11, 12 years.
Well, yeah, that's my question. Is the current Yankee ownership willing to say, okay, thanks for everything, Mr. Cashman, but we're going a different way now?
I think Steinbrenner needs to put his own stamp on things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
and what is Alderson's actual title?
He's the team president.
Okay, yeah. So he would have to go.
He's not the president of baseball operations. He's the team president.
But Theo doesn't want him around.
Of course he doesn't. Of course he doesn't. Well, what the reports coming out now are Theo Epstein does not want to be in that position. He wants to get he wants to get a group together, and he wants ownership of a team. He wants that's what he wants. He doesn't want to be. He doesn't want to build another team or help another team out. He wants his own team.
No, but if he's going to do that, I would think that he does not want anyone between him and the owner.
Of course not. Of course not.
Doesn't want anybody else having the owner.
And I said that before they even, there was no way that was going to happen. If Sandy Alderson wasn't leaving, Theo Epstein was not coming. And whether he wants the job or not, whether he wants to be an owner or not, doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. The bottom line is Sandy Alderson's there. He's not coming.
Let me ask you guys, you Met fans, a question. If Aaron Boone becomes available,
yes,
do you want him as manager of the Mets?
No. Over. Well, it depends on who it's over. I would rather have Buck Showalter, but I would rather Boone over
a lot of others.
A lot of others. Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't be my top choice, but he certainly wouldn't be my last choice. I mean, what other names are they talking about? Joe McEwing. Beltran's name constantly. I got a feeling you're gonna see Carlos Beltran as the manager of the Mets. I think it's already. They just the new GM has to. Steve Cohen wants the new GM to pick the manager, but what's going to happen is he's going to pick a team. He's going to pick a president of baseball operations who's going to name a GM, and then Cohen, Alderson, Billy Beane, if it's him, as president of baseball ops, and the GM. Are all going to tell the GM that he's picking Carlos Beltran, So, but I honestly, and who knows, maybe he's a baseball savant, as everybody says. Maybe he makes up for 2006 by managing them to a World Series win. But I don't know. I really think Buck's the way to go. And I know Buck's older, but he's an old school baseball guy. But he's not going to let. He's not going to be a puppet for Sandy Alderson. It's not going to happen, and that's why I don't think it's going to happen. Because it's all about puppets, and that's what really fucking sucks.
That's what the Mets are. They're puppets. They're a puppet show.
They are. So.
All right, that's another 5 minutes.
All right, there we go. All right, that's baseball.
Stupid baseball.
Damn baseball. An hour on postseason baseball.
Go Dodgers.
5 teams left. No. Anyway, all right. Let's move on to...
Get me a glass of ice-cold milk and watch the Dodgers.
Ice-cold milk and watch the Dodgers. You're hysterical. Anyway. All right. Let's talk some football. Let's do our...
Wonder bread toast. A glass of milk and watch the Dodgers.
There you go.
I don't understand that at all, but we'll talk about that off the air. I mean, the only guy who fits that bill is Bueller.
Ferris?
Yeah, that guy looks like he's right out of 1953.
By the way, the Rangers are getting spanked.
The Texas Rangers
at the end of the
they're still playing.
End of the
second. They haven't given up. They're trying.
End of the second, they're down 3-0.
Oh, that's wonderful. Lovely.
Slow sports night.
What's Panera doing?
Panera? They have a special on tomato soup.
He's making a sandwich right now instead of scoring a goal.
Apparently. All right. Let's do our football quiz. Store quiz.
All right, football quiz.
Here we go. Football quiz time. All right. Last week we did 1970s players. 4 stay, 2 go. This week we're doing 1980s players.
Oh.
1980s players. 4 stay, 2 go. All different positions. So there's not like 2 quarterbacks and you can pick the better one kind of thing.
All right.
All different positions. Okay. I got you a linebacker, a quarterback, a safety, an offensive tackle, a running back, and a wide receiver. That's
all right.
So 4 of them stay, 2 of them go. Here we go. Pete will go first as usual, I suppose.
Yep.
All right. Write them down if you want. Listen to them if you don't. Doesn't matter. Here we go. Lawrence Taylor.
Pete's doing the Giants? Or these are?
No, they're all different. They're all different.
Oh, so we're both picking out of the same.
You're both picking
group.
the same pool. Same pool. All right. So Lawrence Taylor, Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, Anthony Munoz, Eric Dickerson, and Steve Largent.
How many have we got to keep?
Keep 4. Get rid of 2.
Okay, well, LT, obviously.
Right.
I'll take Ronnie Lott.
All right.
I'll take Dickerson.
All righty.
And I'll take Munoz.
All right. So Lawrence Taylor, Ronnie Lott, Anthony Munoz, and Eric Dickerson.
You didn't take Joe Montana?
Fuck Joe Montana.
Second best quarterback of all time.
Yeah, whatever.
All right.
I'm down on California these days.
Yeah, he's wonderful. Milk. He's too milky.
Fucking
too milky.
Milk toast Montana. Not on my team.
Milky.
Milk
For that
toast Montana.
crazy, diverse city of San Francisco. Yeah. You're also talking about Los Angeles, probably the most Latino city in the country, with the exception.
You wouldn't know it from looking at their baseball team.
All righty. Harry, yours.
This is tough, but I think I got to go with LT, Montana, Lott, and it's hard to leave Anthony Munoz off this list, but I think I can make up for, and I think you got to take Dickerson. So I think I'll leave off Munoz and Largent. Although Munoz I would leave off Largent over Munoz.
Gotcha.
Dickerson wasn't around. He had a really amazing short span of time where he was really great, but he was arguably the best running back in the league during those times. And you could argue Anthony Munoz is the best offensive tackle of all time.
Sure.
It just shows. I don't know. I'm gonna take 5 because I'm gonna take Munoz and Dickerson.
Just everyone but Largent.
That's right.
So, yeah. All right. So obviously you want Munoz over Largent on those two, but
Yes.
all right. Pete, between you left off Largent as well and Montana, who would you leave off?
Largent.
If
I take Largent.
you take Largent.
Sorry, Joe. You're on the bench.
No, not even on the team.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Here's a nice vanilla milkshake.
I think if you asked 7,000 people this question, Pete would be the only person to leave Joe Montana.
There'd be one really disgruntled, like Dallas fan.
Of course,
It would be like, fuck Joe Montana.
Probably a Chargers fan. No,
I was going to say
who was their biggest rival back then? No one really. The Rams.
Are you? No, it was definitely. It would have to be a Bengals fan, right? They lost 2 Super Bowls to him, and they should have won the second
I'm
one.
talking in their division.
Oh, in the division, Rams. Yeah,
the
Rams.
Yeah, probably the Rams. Yeah.
So they would take Dickerson in spite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think they take Dickerson in spite. I think they take Dickerson because
I said they take Dickerson and spite Montana.
Oh, and spite Montana. I got you.
Yes.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there you go. So, Radio Pete picks LT, Ronnie Lott, Anthony Munoz, and Eric Dickerson, and Harry picks LT, Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, and Eric Dickerson.
Anthony
with
Munoz.
A special mention of Anthony Munoz. There you go.
I'm picking 5.
Ronnie Lott. Ronnie Lott.
I'll pick one less next week.
There you go. Steve Largent getting no love. And remember, Steve Largent was the very first man to ever win the Steve Largent Award. Remember that. So
He was. He was also the second man on the moon.
I think he won it twice, didn't he?
I think so. Absolutely. But anyway, he just made it up himself.
Steve Largent was a great receiver, but he was no Joe Montana.
This is true. Well, he was a good Joe Montana, though.
Who was Steve Largent's quarterback during most of those years?
Oh, crap.
The Zornmeister, wasn't it?
Jim Zorn.
Jim Zorn.
The old lefty. Jim Zorn and Steve Largent sort of looked interchangeable back then. They would fit in on Pete's version of the Dodgers.
And I'm sorry, but being Jersey Johnny and my jerseys and everything else, I got to say that those Seahawks uniforms those jerseys, they were better than what they were now.
Those Seahawks jerseys were maybe them and the 70s Bucks uniforms.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
The cream ones, they were good. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and the Chargers.
Yeah, well, Chargers are similar. They've always been similar. They've only changed
the colors. The colors are better because they're more white.
Yeah.
Than they are now. That's that weird yellow.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm thinking of the Rams. I'm sorry.
Oh, the Rams. Yeah, no. The Rams new uniforms absolutely suck.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely horrible.
Because they're 100%. Less white.
Right.
And the numbers, all the stitching on the numbers, they're all outlined in plastic. It's stupid, but anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Enough about that. Let's get to some games. It is LA. This is true. Very milky out there. All right.
Using milk bottles from milk cartons.
They melt down the
from
milk.
the Dodgers.
Exactly.
After Walker Bueller's done drinking his third quart of milk, they melt it down and turn it into the Rams uniforms.
Exactly. All right. Let's get to some NFL games last week. Let's start off with the early one. Well, before we do that, I just have to I just have to say one thing before we get to that, and that would be this, of course.
Are the Jets gonna win today? No. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no. I mean yes. I mean no.
I mean, is it time to admit that the Jets and Giants is interchangeable in that
Pretty much
thing?
Yeah.
Right, so, Pete, why don't you walk us through what happened in London last week?
Well, the Jets lost.
Is that about it?
They looked terrible and then looked a little bit better in part of the game, but I don't know.
Do they know that they're actually playing the game when they start it?
I don't talk about maybe they're not warming up right, or
they're warming up there in the first and second quarter.
I think they need to play. I think they need to play a scrimmage against each other. The offense against defense for a quarter.
A local high school team and probably play to a draw against them in like a little 15-minute game before the actual game starts.
Sure, absolutely.
Look, those who said, "Oh man, Zach Wilson had his coming out day and things are going to be," listen, the bulk of the media loves to talk up the story, right? That's how you get the clicks. That's how you get the right.
Sure.
Everything. Either you lose and you're desolate. You win and we're turning it around. Pump the brakes on all of that because the Jets are just not a good team and they're learning.
They only lost by 7.
Well, they only lost by 7 to a terrible Falcons team.
Mm-hmm.
But the same team which beat the Giants.
Well, so there you go. So they're less terrible than the Jets and the Giants, but
I think they're about equal.
This is just not going to be a good season for the Jets, and nothing they do should mean anything is set in stone. They will have good moments and they will have bad moments, probably more bad moments than good. And let's not jump to conclusions and say that one win is this lovely panacea and everything's going to be better now. Mm-hmm. It's not.
No, it's not.
They're lousy. They are lousy.
Who said that? I haven't. I'm not really ingrained in the New York media these days. So was that really what people were saying on the Jets side?
Well, people in particular were again media folks.
Okay,
media pundits.
Yeah, the pundits,
sports pundits,
who get paid to talk about this stuff for a living, unlike us. And a lot of them were going, "Oh yeah, this was a great sign," but it wasn't a great sign.
Mm.
It was a momentary flash of good. It's just it's
momentary
easy to
flash of oh my God, we won.
Well, look, if they came out after the win and they came out and they went, yeah, that was nice. Let's see him do it again.
Right.
That's not enticing. No. So they come out and they go, yeah, I did this right and did that right, and maybe he's finally coming together. Mm-hmm. This goes on. It's a lot of the guys at ESPN.
Yep.
They just kind of get on and one good week and it's the week before that this is a terrible. They did it with the Giants last year. They lose. It's a terrible Giants team. They're blah blah, and then they win a game. They go, I don't know. If they run the table, they can make the playoffs. Like, what are you talking about?
Sounds like John.
If they win the next 7 games, they could maybe sneak in the playoff. Like, come on, man.
If you watch John on Facebook, you would think he's the most pessimistic person on that. Then you listen to him talk, and it's just like, I don't know. I think the Giants. If it wasn't for the refs and. I think the Giants should be 6-1.
We'll get there.
Look, the Jets.
They've only played 5 games, but the Giants should be 6-1.
Think of the Jets this. None of these guys ever. Just imagine that none of them ever played together, and they were all recruited, and they all came together for this season, and everybody's learning everything new. That's how you have to look at the Jets. New coaching staff. Everything is new, but the owner.
There's a reason,
and even that's
kind
of new because
if this goes on for another 2 years, then obviously there's just something inherently wrong with
you want to see growth, you want to see some progress. It's like when if you go out and you play golf and you have a decent round, you don't go, boy, every round is going to be, I was only 15 strokes over this time instead of my usual 25. Every round is going to be like this from now on. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
You had a good round. You hit 3 or 4 really good shots, which sets you up for a couple of birdies or whatever. It's, not everything is fixed.
Right.
It's incremental a little bit better. You want to see some good stuff.
That's it. Just little
It's
by little.
about growth. It's about growth.
It absolutely is. So, all right. Well, we don't have to worry about anything this week as far as the Jets go. I think I promise you, the Jets will not lose this week.
Cannot lose this week.
Matter
of fact, we're going to pick an extra game.
We have to pick an extra game.
Okay,
yes, we do. So
all right, we'll get to that.
We'll do that in a minute. Yeah,
but we can have a wild card game.
Good.
Let's get rid of the divisions first.
Exactly. So.
Everyone plays everyone in the National Football League twice.
There you go. It's 37 games a season.
Yeah.
It starts in July now.
They're used to just be an NFC and an AFC.
They can take January. Well, when was the Super Bowl this past year?
February. It's always in February. It's going to be a week later now.
We'll
from now on, it's going to be a week
last
later.
Week of February to the second week of March off.
Right.
And 2 weeks of mini camp and right back
at it. That's it.
34 week season.
And then 12-year average careers will turn into 6-year average careers.
All right. Let me ask you guys.
All right.
Was it that much of a surprise what happened in the Giants-Cowboys
Look,
game?
I'll start. I said last week that the Giants were not winning the game, and I did not expect the Giants to go down to Dallas with the team that they have and the way they've been playing, with the win the week before in New Orleans or not, regardless of that. The way Dallas is playing, I did not expect the Giants to win. All I said was I want to see the Giants competitive. And to a point they were, but I mean, they basically got their starting quarterback, their starting running back, their starting wide receiver. And I mean, people were falling like friggin' flies in this game. You know, it's that right there, you know, for what Glennon did when he came in, you know, actually shocked me, a couple of the passes that he was throwing. I mean, a lot of Kadarius Toney, I don't know if you saw it or not, he's Pro Football Focus's Rookie of the Week.
He ought to be.
Rookie of the Week.
That might be the best pick they've made.
189 yards. 189 yards. And that wasn't from Daniel Jones. A little bit of it was, but most of that was from Glennon. So, you know.
And a lot of that was there was at least a couple of ridiculous catches that nobody had any business making.
And yards after catch, too. So,
yeah.
So, but, you know, look, they weren't winning. The only thing that I will say is this, and I'm gonna say it in an odd way. Before I actually talk about it, I'm gonna say it this way. I'm actually gonna go back to a Jersey thing because I want to actually ask you guys your opinions. All right. I'm gonna start with this one.
Actually,
a Cowboys.
You actually want our opinion.
I want your opinion, both of your opinions. Cowboys uniforms. We're going to talk about Cowboys uniforms. All right. I want to know what Cowboy uniforms you like the best. Do you like this Cowboy uniform the best?
That's classic.
Do you like that Cowboy uniform best?
Okay. I already know it's coming.
I do too.
All right.
That's the Nouvelle look. I like. That's
There you go. Right. Do you like this Cowboy uniform?
Now that's what you think of when you think of the Cowboy.
That's
Emmitt Smith right there.
All right. Emmitt Smith. Or do you like this Cowboy uniform?
Well, this one's slimming.
They win more often.
They do.
Vertical stripes always
absolutely do win more often.
They are hard to beat when they're wearing these uniforms. I got to say.
This is true. I got to tell you.
Look, I just don't agree with your
folks.
That the Giants get screwed by the refs every week.
Well, I'll give you a couple of my opinions, folks. You folks listening to the audio podcast and not watching this on the Facebook video or the YouTube video. The first two pictures were actually Cowboys uniforms. This one is a picture of refs. All right, so which leads me to my really quick. I'm not gonna drown. I'm not gonna bitch. I'm not gonna sit here and piss and moan about the fact that the refs always look. There's always a certain amount, or there's always the possibility of a certain amount of home cooking in different stadiums as far as refs go. There's always the possibility of that. I'm not saying there always is. There's always a possibility of that. By far and by and large, the biggest offender of home cooking has to be Dallas. I'm sorry. It's just the way it is. And, you know what? Tell me I'm wrong, because everybody does. Or not everybody, but a lot of people tell me I am. But the bottom line is this. I'll give you a few of these really quick. Let's run them down. All right, I'm going to start with there was roughing the quarterback in the first quarter. Not when Eli. I'm calling him Eli. Not when Daniel Jones got knocked out. Earlier in the game, he ran, he threw a pass, and there was 2 steps, and then the defender came in and leveled Daniel Jones. No flag, nothing. All right, it happened. Go back and watch the game. I promise you will see it if you watch the game. It happened. No flag. Where Daniel Jones helmet to helmet. All right. Here's my thing. Now it was legal helmet to helmet. What the fuck is legal helmet to helmet? If helmet to helmet is a problem, well, he was a runner at that point and he lowered his head. Yes, so did the defender. The defender lowered his head too. You're supposed to, as defenders, from what I read, the rule is if you have to move, you have to avoid your helmet and go towards the shoulder pad, and that's what's going to allow you not to get a flag. He lowered his helmet too and knocked Daniel Jones out. So from what I'm reading, as far as that rule goes, that's helmet to helmet, illegal contact from the defender. Okay. Beyond that, not that much further into the game, Eli Penny, the fullback for the Giants, was same thing. He got helmet to helmet, no flag on that one. Kadarius Toney, when he fell in the end zone, and Eli, I keep saying Eli. What the hell's going on? Aikman.
He's your Bradford.
Apparently.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah. Aikman said, "Oh, he slipped. He slipped because he got pushed. That's why he slipped. He slipped because he got pushed to the ground. That was complete pass interference. No flag. And there wasn't a flag. And Tony was stupid for throwing a punch. And that whole 2 flags on that side. But the flags for Dallas was the fight too. The fight started because Tony got slammed to the ground 37 minutes after they blew the whistle. And the defender just took
time.
Him. Exactly.
Wouldn't delay a game?
I'm telling you. Just slammed him to the ground. That's why that even started.
It's going to be assessed next week.
No flag on that. But I don't know if you saw it. The one catch from Cooper, Amari Cooper, or non-catch, I should say. James Bradbury went up. James Bradbury had his hand on his hip, all right, and went up and smacked the ball. I watched this play. I rewound it on the DVR. I watched it probably 40 times. There was never any pull on James Bradbury's hand. That was a complete acting job from Amari Cooper. He just literally turned. He just flipped over as if he was getting pulled and drew the flag. Now, granted, kudos to him for doing that, but that they'll throw a flag on when it wasn't actually even the Giants defender's fault. But whatever. So that's just my bitch, and I'm done. I'm off the soapbox when it comes to that. But it's just that Giants losing that game did not piss me off because I didn't think they were going to win the game, and they were competitive to a point. Daniel Jones stays in that game. Saquon Barkley stays in that game. Kenny Golladay stays in that game, and they keep to the offensive play calling and that game scheme that they had. I'm pretty sure that they were still going to lose, but at least it would have been more competitive. It wouldn't have been 44-20. You know what I mean? But the thing that irks me the most is these guys right here, is them. I just can't take it anymore. I mean, can't Dallas just win on their own without help once? That's my thought. Thoughts? Your turn. Go.
Sounds to me like you're angry because Amari Cooper's a better actor than the defender.
Okay.
It sounds
and
like
a better player.
Well, that too.
Sounds like you're angry because Daniel Jones makes a terrible mountain goat.
I'm more angry
and when he butts his head together with a rival, he ends up on the losing side.
I'm more angry at Jason Garrett on that play than I am at Daniel Jones. Really?
Yeah, listen.
You're a yard from the end zone. You're a yard from the end zone. Jump over the pack. Do something else. How about a fade pass to one of your 97 feet tall wide receivers? No. Let's run our quarterback head on into
Isn't this why we got Kyle Rudolph?
Yeah, I thought.
Yes.
I thought.
Listen, I'll say this about the refs and stuff. The NFL is obviously behind this, right? It's not the bias by the part of the referees. They're getting their marching orders. You know that.
Of course they are.
You know that.
Yeah. The NFL wants Dallas to win.
Yes, because it's a great story for the NFL. The NFL,
and they've been failing for 25 years.
Well, okay, but but there's only so much they could do.
So fuck the NFL then.
But they're tired that the storyline of the Chiefs and the Packers and the Bucks, they want some new blood in the playoff mix.
Mm-hmm.
And
Dak Prescott is a great story after everything last year.
Story. And the Giants aren't going anywhere anyway. Mm-hmm. So what's a better story? If the Cowboys win, let's say 31-27 or 24, or if they look dominant and they get hyped up and people go, "Oh, Dallas, you got to put them right up there with the other really good teams in the NFL." That's what this is all about.
Of course.
So
you're listening to the Conspiracy Podcast.
and I'm a Cowboys fan, so I love it.
No.
I hope they do the same thing.
I don't have as much. I don't have an opinion because I didn't watch enough of the game, and I don't watch every Dallas game to see what kind of breaks they get. I will say this: yeah, there was probably a couple bad calls. If you look at any game at any time, there's a bad call on every play or a bad non-call on every play, depending on how you're looking at it.
But it seems to even out, except for Dallas. That's all I'm saying.
I don't agree with that assessment. However, I have not mathematically sat and watched every Dallas Cowboy game because if I had to do that, I would blow my brains out. So I can't. I'm not going to argue there because I don't have anything to argue on.
I think you'd only have to watch a couple games, and then you'd realize John and I are right, and then you'd become interested.
Yeah.
You'd be like, I'm not blowing my brains out. I got to watch more of these games.
People say the same thing about the Patriots. Then they all of a sudden it's just Brady, and now it's Tampa Bay. Look, I don't know. There's always going to be calls that can go. Look, as far as the helmet to helmet, I understand why they're trying to get rid of it. Having been a football player, the hardest thing to do in football is to not hit somebody with your fucking helmet.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've had generations taught that you lead with the brunt of your helmet and put your helmet. I mean, it's hard to get to somebody without your helmet getting in the way a lot of the time. So,
sure.
Yeah, but this is also not the first year that
I understand. I understand all that. And I don't want to see
I know a guy that played nose tackle in high school and broke his neck leading with his helmet, not a tackle.
Right.
And you know him too.
Yeah, I don't know who that was, but anyway.
Yeah, you do.
I don't remember him breaking his neck. But anyway.
It was after you graduated.
Yeah. So the reality of all this is that, do I want to see Daniel Jones get hurt? No, of course not. But my bigger takeaway with the Giants is they're hurt again. And this is what we've been talking about. How long is Saquon Barkley out for again? You know, are we going to have to go
low ankle sprain? Probably a couple weeks, two weeks, maybe 3. Look, that was a freak accident. I'm not going to say he's not durable and what the hell's going on, but enough already. Why can't this man play an entire season?
Nobody can anymore.
You know, it's insane. But yeah, that's luckily, knock on wood, it's week to week or whatever, because it was just luckily it wasn't a high ankle sprain, it was a low ankle sprain.
I think watching both the Giants,
I think he was running already. So. I
think being somebody who's realistic about the Giants and don't expect them to ever win a fucking game. I think that there were some good signs in this Giants game. I think the Giants offense. I think the Giants offense is ahead of the Giants defense. Right?
Yeah, they are. Oh, by far they are. Definitely.
The Giants defense is hurting, and I really do think there's one thing that's really obvious with both the Giants and the Jets. Mm-hmm. Neither of these teams are prepared to play the way the way their opponents are prepared to play.
Right.
Atlanta's not a better team than the Giants or the Jets talent-wise. They're pretty evenly matched. The Giants and Jets lost to Atlanta both times because they're relying on a lot of young talent who are not prepared to make the right decisions and the right plays at the right time. Now, I think the Jets have a better future than the Giants because I think the Jets are relying on a lot younger skill players who, from what I see, are developing and are moving forward.
Right.
I see the Giants playing. This is the same thing that's been going on for three years now. And I don't see it necessarily changing.
The Giants have just from what I've seen, I haven't watched all of every game the Giants seem to have a much greater capacity this season for stagnation. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I think the Jets are growing, improving in certain ways. Whether it's going to add up to them being a decent team by the end of the season that's the question. Probably not. But
I think that as far as the Giants go, and I agree with you on that, Pete. I do.
I don't know how the Giants how do they come together? How do they gel? How do they get better?
I think what has happened, if you looked at the first couple of weeks versus these last couple of weeks, I think that they were, they were ball control minded. They really weren't opening things up, and they were offense wise. And hopefully they were thinking that the defense was much better than it was. And after a couple of weeks, they realized, oh shit, this isn't happening. It's not. They're not. We got to reinvent this. And that's when Jason Garrett went back to the drawing board and opened it up a little bit more.
But I'm not sure either of these teams offensively really knows what their identity is.
They don't have one. Not yet.
Yeah, that's actually what as I was about to say. I don't think either one of these teams has an offensive identity. I changed my words, but you corrected me. That's
Well,
exactly the right way to put it.
And look, the Giants won with what we were saying was put Daniel Jones in a situation where he could throw short passes, a ton of them, and get Saquon Barkley in the game. And they seem to go away from that immediately against the Cowboys. It's not just the players. I just don't think they have the right minds running this team to create any sort of consistency. And
I have to agree.
All right, so who is going to win? Not even looking at the schedule for next week, but who is going to win their second game first?
Oh, I don't know.
Or who's going to get their second win first?
I mean,
tough question.
They both blew it against Atlanta. Who's the next crappy team that they get to play? Each other? Do the Giants and Jets play each other?
No, not this year. The Jets are off this week, and the Giants aren't winning. So,
the Jaguars are terrible. So whoever plays the Jaguars first.
Well,
maybe Houston, or maybe the Dolphins.
2 weeks. 2 weeks from now, the Giants play the Panthers at home. The Giants are home, and the Jets are away at the Pats. So that's a possibility, but
that might be right there.
I don't think so for the Giants. It's a possibility though.
Giants play the Rams this week, right?
Yes. The week after that, the Jets play the Bengals. The Jets are home, and the Giants are away at the Chiefs on Monday night. So that's neither team's winning that.
Yeah, Bengals are not a doorstop there.
The week after that, the Giants are home against the Raiders, and who knows what shapes the Raiders are going to be in. We'll talk about that in a minute. And
they'll probably, I don't know. They might be
better. The Jets are Thursday night away in Indianapolis.
There you go. So the Giants are definitely have better chances.
I will say this: you can analyze it all you want. The team to win the next game is going to be either the Giants and Jets. The next game they win is going to be against a team that they have no right beating. The Giants will. One of them will beat Kansas City or the Rams,
right.
And then the next week they'll lose to the Panthers or the Dolphins.
Right?
They'll win a game that they shouldn't win because this is the way both of those teams operate.
That's true. It's true.
All right. What other games do we want to
I think looking at the schedule, I think the Jets have a better chance of winning a game sooner than later.
I get you. Let's talk about the field goal issues this past weekend.
Well, some of it was weather related.
Oh, of course, but I mean there were 17 field goals missed in that Packers-Bengals game. I think was it 17 or 18?
I think it was 18.
18.
That's just Mason Crosby,
and that was just Mason Crosby.
He was missing him even not during the game.
He was missing him on the sidelines. He was trying to kick him, but no. That was just insane. It really was. What was the other one that missed?
What was it? Wasn't it one of the Thursday night game?
Thursday night game.
Which was the one that was won on a field goal that they missed a couple going into it? I can't remember.
That was the Packers-Bengals.
Okay.
Yeah, they won on the field goal. What was the other close one? The Bucks and the Dolphins. That was not.
Was it the Thursday night game? The Ravens, didn't they miss a couple field goals in that game?
That was Monday night.
Maybe that's the game I'm thinking of, the Monday night game.
Yeah, I don't think there was missed field goals.
The Patriots won by 3, but that wasn't the last second field goal.
That's the one I'm looking at. Yeah, it was same thing. It was a field goal. They won by a field goal. So same score. They paid the Pats Texans was the same as the
right 25-22. Oh, and the Eagles and the Panthers was a 3-point game.
Yep, exactly. I was shocked that happened, but
hard to say who the. I don't know. The Eagles, they're still not good.
No.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe the Panthers aren't as good as they...
Well, they had said, I heard a couple of people say that their opinion was that Sam Darnold is still the same quarterback he was. Whatever happened in the first few games, they realize he's...
Poor Sam Darnold.
Just tunnel vision. He's focusing on DJ Moore. Now he's bringing Robbie Anderson into the fold a little bit more, which he should have been doing since day one, but who knows? So, but that's that. So, Cardinals 5-0. Are they for real this year, or are they just going to win another game and then start losing like last year?
I don't know. I think
the Cardinals are for real, but they're beatable. They're a good team, but but they are beatable.
Right.
Are they doing anything different this year, or are they just doing what they did last year better?
They're playing much better, much more athletic, much more speed-based defense.
Yeah.
That defense is, I think, got to be the fastest defense in the NFL right now.
It is.
And that's the difference, is that it's not just the pressure. Yeah, what's his name? I don't think he's had a sack since that first 5-sack game. But they're just, from their linebackers to the secondary, they're all over the place.
Yep.
And look at what they're not giving up a lot of points. I mean, who's given up the least amount of points in the NFL this year? I don't know.
Good question.
Yeah.
Let's see. Who's given up the least amount of points would be Bills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which
64 points.
Yeah.
By far the least amount of points.
But
next one. Honestly, hold on. Am I right? 76. Hold on. Yeah. Who's number 2?
Carolina.
Nope.
The Bears.
No.
Oh, you're talking points or yards?
Points given up. Points given up. Points awarded. The one that's in second place.
Patriots. Broncos.
Yep.
Okay.
Denver Broncos have given up 76 points.
But that's not based on the last couple of games. That's more based on
as of today. Well,
no, but I'm saying they made the bones weeks 1 through 3.
1 through 3.
So they've played the Jets and Giants.
Yeah.
Well, they are 3-2.
You pointed that out last week that they look good against the Jets and Giants, and somebody else was another lousy team.
But they don't give up a lot of points even when they lose. They don't score a lot of points, obviously, but they don't necessarily get blown out either.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Okay. So are the Bills the best team in the AFC now?
I'd have to say. I'm going to keep the Chargers up there. I'm going to keep the Chargers up there, but I think the Bills edge out the Chargers. But they're 1-2. Not by
much, though.
No, not by much. Yeah.
But the Chiefs aren't as bad as 2-3, aren't they?
No, not at all.
No, I still in the AFC. I still think the Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs are better than the Chargers, even though they're struggling a little bit right now. I think when it all pans out, and look, Baltimore's 4-1.
Yeah.
And you could say what you want about them. They're winning in unconventional ways, but they're finding ways to win, and they've played some pretty decent teams.
They have. Let me ask you this. All right, we talk about that. Are they as bad as that? Are the Lions 0-5?
The Lions are bad.
They've been in almost every game they've played.
Yeah.
They just haven't finished.
So have the Giants, if you really.
Well, this is true too. But are they? I don't mean are they a good team? Are they an 0-5 team?
They're 0-5.
Well, they are.
Will they lose every game? No.
Yeah.
Because they'll beat the Bears at least once.
Are they better than the 1-4 Texans?
Not necessarily. They're probably equal. Well, maybe.
I think they're a better team than the 1-4 Texans.
Because the Texans won week 1, right?
Are they better than the 1-4 Dolphins?
Not necessarily. The Dolphins are a head scratcher.
Yeah,
I haven't given up on them yet, but they're a head scratcher.
Still out? He's still out, right?
He's still out. Yeah, he's out. Yeah.
Are they?
Jacoby Brissett played this past.
Are the Bills better than the 1-4 Colts?
Jacoby Ellsbury did not play quarterback for the Dolphins.
Are the Lions better than the Colts?
No.
Colts are a good team. Colts should have won Monday night.
That's the team who missed some. He missed 2 field goals in that game. The Colts against the Ravens.
He missed a couple of field goals.
Yeah,
the Colts should have won that game. The Colts were running all over the Ravens.
They were up big
3/4 of the game, and then the Ravens came on in the fourth quarter, brought it back, tied it, went to overtime, and won.
But I don't know.
The defense, the Colts defense was just shot once they got to overtime. Colts, so there was no way they were stopping them.
They missed one. They missed a field goal. They had one blocked.
Yeah, one was blocked.
Okay.
Yeah, they missed. They missed a point after too. Yeah, they missed a point after, and then because they missed the point after, they went for 2 and missed that. So that's 6 points off the board.
Yeah, what I'm saying is their kicking game wasn't great. That was my point.
Yeah,
saying I knew there was one of those games on prime time where the kicking game for one team was not.
Yeah, I mean,
apparently Rodrigo Blankenship was having a hip issue that day. That's why he was missing. And
they put up 25 points on.
What a great name,
Rodrigo Blankenship.
Doesn't he wear goggles too?
He does. Yeah.
You know what his nickname is, don't you?
Sal.
High Pockets.
What?
High Pockets.
High Pockets Blankenship.
Titcomb Blankenship.
Titcomb Blankenship.
All right. So
Yeah, there's
that
a
was. I guess that was about the excitement from last week.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So before we do our picks and then go into our top 10, let's
We want to have a John Gruden memorial.
let's talk about Gruden a minute. All right. There's been another conspiracy theory out there.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was.
There was.
You mean
It's
another
fitting
one
right into our
involving
podcast.
John Gruden? A second conspiracy theory
How
involving
can John
Gruden,
Gruden's demise help the Dallas Cowboys?
Because later on in the season, Dallas is playing the Raiders.
It's all Obama's fault.
It's just the one. Anyway, no, there
can only be one good team that wears.
I heard conspiracy theory.
I heard Gruden was part of the baby eating dungeon at the pizza place.
That was true. Earlier, yeah, he was. Yeah. But anyway, no. So there are a couple people out there that are drawing a line. All right, this came as an investigation into was it Bruce Allen, right, from the Washington football team, right, and who's friends with Daniel Snyder was John Gruden and not John Gruden. I'm sorry, Urban Meyer, right, and Urban Meyer is obviously under the microscope for getting a lap dance.
This deflects the focus,
right? So he called up his friend Dan Snyder and said, "Hey, think of something that you can uncover and work through here, and we can, or either that or Dan Snyder just did it." But yeah, that's the conspiracy theory. That
is Snyder still the owner
about
of the
to pull them out and railroad John Gruden to take the focus off of Urban Meyer. If you go around the block another direction, you can kind of see where that might be the case, but I don't really think that actually happens. So, but yeah, so Gruden's out, and I'm just curious. And not that I'm sticking up for anybody here. I'm just curious. Anything that I read on it, it seems that the Washington Post and the New York Times actually got to review the emails before the NFL did. They were sent there. Did I read that right?
What was that? The league office?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I've heard far worse things on Facebook posts from people that I went to high school with.
Well, yeah, I'm sure.
But they didn't get the emails from the league, right? We don't know what their source is.
We don't know what their source is, but they uncovered the emails and through this investigation. And those emails, the first email from last week, last Friday or whatever it was, directed at, was it DeMar Smith or whatever? That was through the investigation of Bruce Allen. And that was also like 11 years ago or something, 10 or 11 years ago. The rest of the emails allegedly are from anywhere from 7 years ago to 2 years ago. So apparently they're much more.
But I guess my point is the newspapers are digging for a story.
Right.
The NFL.
Apparently, from what I heard, the NFL was sitting back to see how it played out. I read that somewhere.
Yeah.
I think the one thing at John's point is the newspapers were fed a story. I don't think the newspapers were digging.
I don't think the New York Times actually dug into this. I think they.
Well, no, but my point is they were actively looking to uncover these things.
They're always looking to uncover these
right,
things.
But that's their job. Whereas the NFL was looking to do as little as possible about them, because if they came out, of course, now it's a scandal and it puts the NFL in bad light. And of course, now you have the story that, well, they knew about the emails a couple days before this past week's game. So why was John Gruden still coaching?
Right.
And they went through this whole rigmarole about doing their due diligence, which consists of nothing more than someone goes, "Hey, look at these emails from John Gruden,"
innocent until proven guilty. Somebody could fabricate.
No, there's he's not going to be charged in court. This isn't a trial.
Right.
Someone says, "Here's emails from John Gruden that came about from an investigation, and now the papers are printing them." There's no due diligence to do there.
As long as you know at that moment that those are authorized emails, that somebody's not handing you something that was fabricated, sure.
Right.
So there is due diligence to be done.
Well, yeah, but they knew that. I'm sure they knew that because, again, these didn't come out of nowhere and no one ever heard about any
Right.
of this before. This is stuff that has been around for a number of years.
Sure.
So it wasn't like, oh my God, I've never heard of any of this before.
Right.
But, again, that's what they're going to do.
Of course.
It's a piss poor excuse, but
So, what are you going to do? So,
I don't know. I don't see anybody having a pity party for John Gruden.
I don't either.
Except for John Gruden. But
although here's another interesting side note, if you will. Gruden had originally gotten a 10-year deal with
Raiders.
what you would call it, Mark what's his face, Davis, and the Raiders, and apparently, he was only in his 4th year, right? But apparently the contract, it was $10 million a year, so it was a $100 million contract or something like that, something to that effect.
yeah, it was 10 years at $10 million a year.
In a year, yeah. So it's $100 million. But apparently the contract was backloaded. So he didn't get a lot of the money up front. It was all towards the end of the contract. So with him being out, he ain't getting any of that. So
are we sure he's not getting paid anything?
Well, I'm sure that. Well, I didn't hear anything. I mean, I'm sure it'll come out at some point. But I wouldn't be surprised to find out that because he resigned, right? He didn't get fired. He resigned. He stepped down. So I wouldn't be surprised to find out that Mark Davis actually said, "All right, here's a check. Please resign. Take this and go on your way." But who knows? But yeah, as far as the contract goes specifically, I don't know what this parting gift was or severance pay for all that matters. But his contract was backloaded, and he didn't get a lot of it up front. I'm not. Look, hey, if these emails were for real, hey, he dug his own hole, But what are you gonna do?
I just want to wish O.J. Simpson the best of luck as the new Las Vegas Raiders head coach.
That was funny. Yes, O.J. has been promoted to.
Look, I'm not. I say that in jest.
Yes.
Look, it's it's mind-boggling to me that these guys who have been in this environment for so long would still be expressing these totally antiquated, it takes an inferior person to think this way. It takes an even less, even as someone who is totally not, at ease with who they are and what they're doing, to put it in writing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure he's not alone in this. I'm sure there's tons of people everywhere. And I'm sure if the players, much like what Keyshawn Johnson has been saying and others, were truly honest about how they've been treated by a lot of people, not just John Gruden, it would make you sick.
Sure.
Which is why we need a diversity in not only ownership, but coaching and everything else to make sure that, we don't have this. And I'm not saying all white men are like this. That's far from it.
Yeah.
But, and who knows if there's anything conspiracy behind it or anything, who knows? But it came out, and this stuff is going to continue to come out for anyone and everyone all the time.
Sure.
And some people are going to be axed right away, and other people are going to linger on, and some people are going to try to limp back after a while, and we'll see.
All right. Let me ask you 2 questions. Do you think Gruden is absolutely done with football, the NFL, or anything to do with it? Like, you'll never see him again? Or do you think there'll be some time away, he'll make an apology, and he'll be back in some small role somewhere or doing whatever, either commentating or what have you?
I think if
or do you think he's completely done? He's not even coaching a high school football team kind of thing. He's just out. Goodbye. Go retire. See ya. Go sit on a boat and fish.
I think that he'll be gone for a long time, but I'll never say never. I will say this: in the court of public opinion, not all laws are written equally. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of people who have done things that I thought would never be back. Michael Vick, who would never be playing or getting a check from the NFL, Michael fucking Vick, ever again. And they're back.
Right. What about that guy that was the quarterback for Atlanta and then he went to the Jets and Eagles after that?
Yeah.
What about him?
Yeah. So it's two different things. Both are kind of, ridiculous in their own right. One was highly criminal and murder. The other one was being an ignorant, racist asshole. I think John Gruden will be back in some capacity. I think he will slowly work at trying to amend whatever it is that he's caused. I don't think he'll go away completely. He's a relatively young guy. But it'll be a long time. It'll be a while.
Gotcha. And do you think we've heard the last of the Urban Meyer situation? You think that's blown over, that's done, or you think something will continue with that?
If any coach, player, or executive in the NFL was to be penalized, fired, benched, whatever for getting a lap dance, there would be no games next week.
Oh, listen, at least he didn't have a gun tucked in his sweatpants.
Yeah, at least he didn't
was at the club.
At least he wasn't firing a gun in the air.
He didn't shoot himself.
And calling people racist names while he was firing the gun in the air.
I think Urban Meyer, that story's probably done. Unless there's some footage of him sneaking off with the girl.
Right.
Gruden, look, who's Ray Rice playing for?
Yeah.
So there are limits, right?
Sure.
Well, he came back though.
Yeah, for like a season or even half a
He
one
came
or
back.
something.
He's not out because of his actions. He's out because he got hurt and couldn't play anymore.
Hmm.
I hear you. So, all right.
So I don't know. Look, the only thing that would keep, I think, Gruden out forever is if there's enough change in ownership where there isn't somebody who's willing to give him another chance. Because let's face it, it's not just, players and coaches that are good old boys. It's owners. In fact, that's probably a larger part of the problem. Is that
that was my point.
To put up with this stuff in the first place. So if he's gone long enough that maybe some changes to ownership can kind of thin out the herd of the old boy network. But I wouldn't think that this would keep him out of football forever.
And it has knocked owners out. Who's the old broad that owned the Rams who was shouting racist things? It has forced people to give up ownership. But you
had the guy who owned the Clippers,
right? But he still remained on the Clippers. My point being is that you're not seeing enough ex-players or ex-coaches or even people who have earned money through whatever forms saying, hey, I want to invest in a pro sports franchise. Now there's more than there used to be. Right. And there's certainly a lot more minority ownership and group ownership. And I think that'll start to change things, especially if the ownership group has a level of ethics and understanding where there is no tolerance for this. Mm-hmm. And but look, we're still dealing with guys who have been around for a long time. And we now have a trail that is going to expose this much more than it's ever been exposed in the past.
Sure.
And so we're gonna be seeing this all the time. Part of it is that you can't really judge it all the same way because there's a court of public opinion that seems to not be based on any sort of standard of practice.
Well, I think it kind of comes down to, in a lot of cases, likability.
Sure.
And that's what kind of skews that court of public opinion. Like John Gruden, was he really a likable guy?
I don't know. I don't know enough about him.
When he was coaching the Bucs and they were winning the Super Bowl, and you were a fan, he was great.
By the way, on that note, did you see that? You see that the Bucs actually removed his name from the Ring of Honor.
Oh, good for them.
They took him down today.
It's stupid. It's just stupid for them to do that. But whatever. Mm-hmm. For the sake of argument, the guy's a piece of shit. Let's just say that. Yeah, doesn't change his accomplishment in that.
They're going to remove his name from the Ring of Honor, but fly a Confederate flag.
Yeah,
right.
So, but he didn't seem like he was a very likable guy.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
So
it sounded like he was really liked by the people who worked with him in broadcasting. It sounded like he was really liked by those that he mentored, especially young kids, when he was working with them as a quarterback. It seems like there's a lot of people who had a problem with him as a coach. Now, take any coach at any point in time.
There'll be a lot of people who have a problem.
And there's going to be a lot of people who have a problem with him.
Right.
So
look, whether he comes back will probably have to do with the volume and the severity of what comes out. if there's more that comes out, I'm was not looking fervently, but I'm trying to find out exactly what he said in these emails, and I can only find the one quote. So if this stuff gets public and we find there's half a dozen emails in which he said all sorts of homophobic and misogynistic things, and apparently some racist things, and we see a bunch of shit that came out of his mouth, so to speak, through these emails,
right,
it'll be a lot harder for him to come back.
Right.
If it's one or two.
But there is, I think there is something that's so I'm not saying it's right, but John Gruden has a trail of what I'm guessing, because I haven't read them all or seen them either, is racist and homophobic, fill in the blank, other statements. But yet today, we have Dean Cain coming out on Twitter and saying it's ridiculous that Superman's son is bisexual, which is obviously kind of a homophobic thing to say. Also, it's a guy who runs around in tights and a cape. Eventually, one of them was going to come out of the closet, at least one way or the other.
Are you saying all superheroes that wear tights are?
No, I'm not saying that.
Closeted homosexuals.
I'm saying the odds of at least one of them being bisexual or gay is pretty high. So my point being is that who cares? But he doesn't really get any shit for that. I just don't understand where.
Yeah, but he's also pretty irrelevant,
right?
I mean, who gives a shit what Dean Cain says,
right?
But except the nerds on the Lois and Superman.
But his
posts.
But his job. He is still a working actor, and his next job's not going to be taken away from him. Whereas if somebody like Mel Gibson said that, he would probably, suffer higher consequences. So there is some sort of odd. There is some way that this all works out. I just can't quite figure it out anymore.
Yeah. But with a guy like Dean Cain, and again, not a particular fan or not a fan of his, haven't followed his career, haven't heard that there's a sort of, in other words, with Dean Cain, for the person who doesn't know him well or whatever, this is like, oh, he said something stupid and it's a dumb point of view.
But has anybody dug through Dean Cain's emails, tweets?
No, but that's exactly the point I'm getting to. With something like Gruden, this sort of validates kind of what probably a lot of people thought. This guy's a fucking jerk.
But how many jerks are there in the NFL?
Well, no,
coaching.
I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm saying with a guy like Gruden, you probably already have people who go, yeah, it doesn't surprise me. He's probably a misogynist and he's an asshole and, whatever. And he's probably said a bunch of shit that we never heard about. And now we're just finding out some of it. Yeah. So it's almost a validation.
You might be right. I don't know enough about him. I've never really heard. I guess I haven't spent enough time understanding John Gruden one way or the other.
Right. But my point is, if you don't like John Gruden for whatever reason,
sure,
you're more than willing. I think because of his personality and the glare and all that stuff, it's easier to go, oh yeah, this doesn't really surprise me that much.
Right. Sure,
this is validation for what is probably true. That's who he is. Guy like Dean Cain, you go, well, I don't know what the hell he was saying that for. That was a stupid thing to say.
Right.
Not you don't take it as validation that Dean Cain's a fucking homophobe.
Right.
Which he might be. I don't know either way in either case.
Right.
But
yeah. And maybe should that keep him from running around in tights and a cape? I don't know.
No, I don't think.
Or getting paid to do it. Right. I don't know.
Let's. I just want to say one thing as far as that goes. As far as the whole Tampa Bay thing goes, let's call it what it is too. All right, and I'm not saying you said accomplishments, and I get it and everything else, but John Gruden did take over the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, took over a team that Tony Dungy put together.
Okay? I understand that.
And won the Super Bowl that first year that he was there against a team that he had just left that he put together.
Yeah.
So he had a great team that Tony Dungy put together and beat a team that he knew what they were going to do, essentially.
Right.
But
it's still tough. Yeah, it wasn't
it's still a job. I mean, it wasn't like he just sat there and let them do whatever.
No,
but,
it wasn't a. Oh, geez, who's the guy from Dallas?
Oh, geez,
who won after Jimmy left?
Oh, Barry Switzer.
Yeah, it's not quite a Barry Switzer.
It's not a Barry Switzer thing.
But you're right. He definitely had advantages, but he still did. They still won the Super Bowl.
Right. He still did make the calls or whatever, but that was Jimmy Johnson's team. It wasn't Barry Switzer's team. Yeah.
No, right.
Joe Torre won 4 World Series with the team that Buck Showalter built. the list goes on.
It goes on and on and on.
The last thing I'll say about this, maybe, is usually when you have, like, when it's more than a one-off, and again, we don't know the volume or the intensity of what was in these emails, but, again, more than one, it seems. Well,
I did read an article and saw a few things that were allegedly in the emails.
Okay, I'm not
going to say them right now.
If you're getting a handful of them,
it was kind of bad.
Then for me, that kind of leads me to believe, all right, well, this isn't somebody saying something stupid or saying something.
Yeah, there's the history.
I'm not saying John Gruden's a member of the KKK. And
there's a pattern of...
but when there's a pattern, then that really opens a window into someone's psyche and their personality.
I guess my whole point is, all right, John Gruden's an asshole. Goodbye. And that's my whole take on it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the more time was spent talking about him by a lot of people, including us, probably than I ever thought was necessary.
Pretty much.
But you know what? He moved the needle, right? You loved him or you hated him. He was polarizing, and that gets clicks either way. So and that's what it's all about.
That is what it's all about. All right. All right. Let's move on to our before we get actually into our beaten by the coin segment. Why don't we pick the games we're going to be actually picking?
We do top 10 things we love or hate about John Gruden. That's going to be our top 10 next week.
Well, that haircut and the stupid visor is one of the
something you like, actually?
No, I dislike.
Dislike. All right. So the games this week, we're obviously doing the Giants are home versus the Rams.
Yeah. So, all right. So in the spirit, we should each pick a game that we want.
Right.
So I'm going to pick the Clippers and the Orioles.
Clippers and the Orioles. I will pick the Coyotes and Phil Mickelson.
I don't know what either of those are.
Arizona. And who's the Coyotes?
All right, Coyotes and the Cavaliers. That's the game I'm picking.
Cleveland and the Cardinals. Okay.
There you go.
All right, who's home?
So there's only one more game we're picking.
No,
you have to pick a game.
Oh
wait, let me look.
I don't know.
Wait, who's playing?
Who did you pick?
Oh, okay. So Cardinals are at.
So we're doing the Chargers and Ravens, Cardinals, Browns.
Yes.
Let's do.
What are you thinking?
I don't know. There's not as many enticing games. How about the Steelers and Seahawks? That's kind of a interesting toss-up. Two teams that want to get back to 500 who are kind of underperforming maybe a little bit.
That'll work.
Games in Pittsburgh, which makes it a little bit more interesting.
Versus Pittsburgh. And then we have to come to a consensus on one more. Well, who do we like? There was one other game I kind of liked. Just for the hell of it, I was going to say Texans Colts.
Texans Colts.
I was actually
looking at two. I was looking at either Bills and Titans because that could be a decent game. Titans are home. And just if you want to go on the low end of things, the Dolphins and Jags.
Yeah, Dolphins and Jags was the other kind of.
Yeah. And that's another London game.
That's right.
Let's do that one then. The fish and the Jags.
The Florida game.
So Miami versus Jags.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. That will
okay. Work. So we got Lar versus the Nyug, Lack versus Baal, Ari versus Klee, Sia versus Pitt, and Maya versus Jax.
All right. Well, we will start it up then.
All right.
There. Let's kick it off.
Fire it up.
The coin.
Beaten by the coin.
I'm sure I'll lose to the coin.
No one wants to be beaten by the coin.
All right. As usual, we will.
We all sucked last week.
Review. No, I'm back on top. Harry and I are actually. Well, Harry was already on top, so it wasn't a great week.
Nobody's really had a great week.
Actually, it was a pretty good week.
It's a pretty good week.
Yeah, John, you went 4-1.
Yeah.
You only lost to Kansas City. So you stand at 15-10 in second place. Harry 3-2, now 16-9. The Jets did you and I in, Harry.
I know.
But that was my only loss, so I picked back up a game I lost the previous week. So Harry and I tied 16-9, one game ahead of John. The coin went 2-3, picking the Jets, Seattle, and KC. Ugh. So they are now 12-13, so a game under, but still within striking distance. So pretty good. Pretty good.
There you go.
All right, so the L.A. Ravens against the New York Giants.
L.A. Ravens.
Yeah, why not? It just says LAR. There's lots of words
LAR.
that start with
LA.
R, so they're the L.A. anything but the
L.A.
Ravens.
anything with an R.
In
LA
the swamp. So who do you like there, John?
I'm going to have to go with the Rams.
Going with the Rams.
Yeah,
Anybody?
It's a 10.5 point spread.
I'm taking Flipper Anderson in the under.
There you go.
All right. Let's see what the old coin says. Coin says heads. They like the home team.
They like the Giants. Huh? Look at that.
Stupid coin.
Who are you
Giants.
taking? Assuming
I'm
you're
taking the Rams.
Okay.
All right. So the Clippers against the Orioles.
This is Arizona versus the Ravens.
No, this
No,
is
it's
Chargers and the Ravens.
Chargers and the Ravens.
Ravens are home.
I'm gonna take the Chargers, even though it's in Baltimore. I don't think Baltimore's defense can handle the Chargers' offense.
I have to agree. I'm going to go right with you on that one.
Yeah, I'll take
All
the
right.
Chargers.
And the coin says,
Ooh, hot mic.
It's a little hottish.
coin says heads.
Ravens. Wow.
Coin is liking the home teams.
Look at that.
All right, Arizona versus Cleveland.
Cleveland is home.
Cleveland is home. Arizona is hot. Cleveland lost by 5 in a shootout with.
Doesn't this have upset written all over it?
It's kind of does.
Having said that, I'm going to take the Cardinals. Cardinals are 3-0 on the road.
I'm going to take Arizona too.
Huh. I'm going Browns.
All right.
Get you. Baker
No,
Mayfield.
A little Baker action.
Coin says heads. They like the
Browns as well.
Browns as well. Boy,
And a
they-
coin.
Yeah, coin's going home team. All right. The Water Chickens, is it?
Water Chickens, yeah.
The Water
Against
Chickens, yes.
the Steelers in Pittsburgh. John, who do you like in this one?
I'm actually going to take the Steelers.
All right.
I don't think that Seahawks defense can stop a feather from falling at this point. And the offense is a little shaky. So, yeah, I'm going Steelers.
I'm going to take the Water Chickens. We got to have something different.
I just don't know. This is a tough one. I guess that's probably why I picked it. God, I have no faith in either of these teams.
It's hard, right?
Steelers.
All right. Probably a safe pick. All right, let's see what the coin says. Coin says tails, which of course is an eagle, which is a bird.
Yeah, coins with you.
Coin's with me. Foolish coin. Well, that pretty much seals the deal for me this week. And then finally, Miami visiting Jacksonville in a battle for near the bottom of whatever.
And London's not going to want any more football games after last week and this week.
Yeah, let's send all the shit teams over to London so that
Maybe they should stay there.
never think of having that Euro League again.
Right.
I think who is it? The Rainfire?
The
Whatever.
Rainfire and
They could probably beat any of these teams that have been there between last week and this week. Tua's not coming back, right? He's still out.
Which might, if they had Fitzmagic still, if he was healthy, that might be different.
Who is on Jacksonville?
Yeah, you got
Trevor Lawrence.
Trevor Lawrence and
Urban Meyer.
Uh-huh. And
And
I
a few
have
other
no
people.
idea who plays for Jacksonville.
Maurice Jones-Drew doesn't still play for them.
Well, let's see.
You've got
September of 2020,
You got-
Miami shellacked them 31-13. Not that that means anything now, but
No. Well, Jaguars were on a mission to get Trevor Lawrence, too. Don't forget that. So.
yeah, that's true.
they got Miles Jack on defense, who's really good. I'm trying to think of who else is.
Let me look at their roster here. Let me look at. We're gonna go.
Actually,
we're
looking at the
looking
roster to figure out the pick.
Well, they got Josh Allen. He's an outside linebacker, though. They got Tavon Austin.
Josh Allen is on the Jags.
He's an outside linebacker.
They have Josh Allen and Trevor Lawrence. Look at that.
Chris Claybrooks. I don't know if any of these guys' names are.
I think you should flip a coin.
Shaquille
for yourself.
Griffin.
I think it's amazing that they aren't
Miles-
worse than they are.
I know.
You know, the running back that they have is not bad. Was it Robinson?
No.
You know,
Let's go by position.
I
here.
think he's probably averaging more yards per rush than Saquon Barkley.
Probably.
I think he's got 4 or 5 touchdowns this year.
Let's look at the skill positions.
Oh, jeez.
Are we really going to take time out to dissect the Jaguars?
All right, so we got C.J. Beathard at quarterback and
That's
Kyle
great.
Lauletta and Trevor Lawrence. So as long as Lawrence doesn't get hurt.
Right.
Oh, they got Travis Etienne at running back and Nathan Cottrell and Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson and Dare Ogunbowale
High Pockets Kelly.
and Devine Ozigbo
Count Sensendorfer.
and Wendell Smallwood.
Tight. Scooter Molander is their backup quarterback.
You're killing me, Smallwood.
I am.
Scooter Molander.
Oh, and they tight end. They got James Oshag Hennessy.
There you go.
James O'Shaughnessy.
Oshag Hennessy.
Yeah, you ever see the Key and Peele? The substitute
Yes.
teacher?
Yeah.
Yeah, Oshag
Right.
Hennessy.
And you know who's playing defensive tackle for them? Fudge.
Fudge.
All right, I am going to take Jacksonville because I've never heard of any of them.
Wow, going out on a.
Yeah,
I
you know
mean, Jacksonville really is the worst team in football.
I have enjoyed my time tied for first, and I want to get the hell into my own little spot, so I'm going to take
I'm
Jacksonville.
actually gonna. I'm with you. Jacksonville's getting their first win this week.
All right.
Wow.
Harry, you going with the water mammals? Oh, you're tempted, aren't you?
I know the Dolphins stink.
They do. This is
Um,
one of the big mysteries. Like, they should, even without Tua, they should be better. Weren't they?
Who's
up
their
and coming?
quarterback?
I don't know. Weren't
Jacoby
they-
Brissett.
Oh, yeah. Weren't they up and coming last year and an improved
Yeah.
team? And coming into the season going, boy, look out for the Dolphins.
I'm gonna take the Dolphins.
All right.
All right.
Just
Well,
missed
we
the end of the.
almost made it. Well, it was the dissection of the Jacksonville Jaguars that did us in.
Yeah.
Oh, the coin says Miami.
We can name 2 people on Jacksonville. We can't name one on Miami.
At least not one who's, well, other than,
Yeah.
at least we know the quarterbacks.
Larry Zonka playing this week?
They might bring him
He
back.
is.
All right.
There you go.
So there we go.
Those are our picks.
Interesting. So we do not have a single week where everyone, excepting the coin.
Right.
Well, first 2 weeks we are all in agreement.
Yep.
But the other 3 we have differences.
There you go. All
There
right.
we go.
Because we're picking some tough toss-up games this year.
This
Which makes
is
it a
true.
little
Yep.
harder.
Yep.
Well, they weren't. We were just going with the Thursday night, Sunday night, Monday night, and the Giants and Jets, and a lot of them were
Yeah.
gimmies. So
Yeah.
This is
Yeah, we all had records last year that would have made us. People would have been calling us up to ask for our predictions.
Oh yeah, we could have had websites that people would have paid money to get.
Well, you
Absolutely.
already have that website. Thank God they didn't take the OnlyFans away.
this is true.
Yeah.
This is true. So all right, all right. That'll bring us to tonight's top 10 list.
Top 10.
Tonight's top 10 list is top 10 Pittsburgh Steelers of all time. Top 10 Pittsburgh Steelers
What a great franchise, right?
of all time. Absolutely. Top 10 Pittsburgh Steelers of all time. There we go. All right. And in true get on with it sports podcast fashion, we have 12.
63.
So sit back and relax. No, I have 12. So there you go. We actually have a tie. We have a tie for 4th and a tie for 3rd.
Top 10 Pittsburgh Steelers nose tackles.
Top 10 Pittsburgh Steelers nose tackles. There you go. Next week, top 10 free safeties that only play on 3rd downs. So, Anyway, okay, so we're going to start up this week, top 10 Pittsburgh Steelers of all time, with our number 10. Our number 10 is, right here, is Mr. Antonio Brown. Antonio Tavares Brown Sr. Antonio Brown. He, let's see, he was drafted 6th round, pick 195 in 2010 by the Steelers. He played for the Steelers for 9 seasons, went to the Raiders for a week, and then to the Pats to win a Super Bowl. I'm sorry, didn't win it. And then he went to the Buccaneers to win a Super Bowl and did win it. So there you go. Those are and he actually didn't finish the season with the Pats either. So Super Bowl champion, obviously last year. 4-time first-team All-Pro, second-team All-Pro 1 year. 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFC receiving yards leader, 2-time NFC receptions leader. List goes on. A lot of other stuff, too. 906 receptions so far in his career. He's still active, obviously. And 12,071 yards and counting receiving yards. 82 total touchdowns. Antonio Tavares Brown Sr. Guys?
Look, when you think of receivers on the Pittsburgh Steelers, I think, to me, there's 3 names that jump out. It's John Stallworth, Lynn Swann, and Antonio Brown. And Antonio Brown's numbers crush those other guys immensely. Mm-hmm. And yeah, he's still playing. And yes, he's part of this growing, sort of chaos that you see in Steeler land over the last 4 or 5 seasons. But I don't think they're alone in that. I think it's just the reality of wide receivers and certain flex running backs. Personality aside, I think he's got to be the best receiver to ever play for maybe him and Hines Ward, but I think his numbers are better. Antonio Brown in his prime, which he's not in his prime anymore, was maybe the best receiver in football. And when it's all said and done, he's got to be in the top 10 receivers of all time. So the fact that he's only number 12 on our list of top Steelers, I think, says something about how he's kind of tarnished his on the field accomplishments. Yeah. I agree with you though. He's great pair of hands, his off field, whatever, and his personality, whatever. But yeah, he's definitely up there with Stallworth and Swan. That's for sure. So anyway, all right. I think how many receiving yards did Antonio Brown have with Pittsburgh?
I don't have a breakdown.
Yeah, I think Hines Ward actually does have more.
I think Hines Ward does have more. I think Hines Ward is the all-time receiver for
the Steelers. Yeah, but he played his whole career with the Steelers.
Yeah. So all right.
I don't know. Brown, I don't know. He's great. There's no question about that.
Yeah.
Just so much crap that overshadowed his talent.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah. I mean, like if he had like a Super Bowl winning catch, or something, you know what I mean? Like he was just always consistently good, but his name just doesn't come up amongst the great plays in Steelers history. You know what I mean? There's no stumbling, fumbling Swan catch or anything like that. But and the fact
it's not it's not too late. I mean, it obviously won't happen with the Steelers, but he's already got 12,071 receiving yards.
Yeah, I mean, it's sick. And I think he's number 1 in burning your feet in a cryo facility by not wearing shoes going in, right?
Right.
Yeah. I think he's the very best at that.
Exactly.
No one's done that better than he.
This is true. So, all right. Number 10 on our list tonight, Antonio Brown. All right. That brings us to number 9. Number 9 is going to be the jersey I'm wearing right now, and that would be Mr. James Harrison. James Henry Harrison Jr. It's a presidential there a little bit. Outside linebacker, obviously for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was undrafted in 2002, picked up by the Steelers, played 2 years for the Steelers, a year and a half actually. Went to the Ravens for a little bit and was wound up on the practice squad. Then he played a little bit with Rain Fire, as a matter of fact, that we just talked about a little bit ago. Then he came back in 2004, and he played for the Steelers from 2004 to 2012. Left for a year for the Bengals, and then came back to the Steelers and played another 4 years, from 14 to 2017, and wrapped up his career at the end of 2017 with the Patriots. But two-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 40 and Super Bowl 43, and then 5-time Pro Bowler, two-time first-team All-Pro, two-time second-team All-Pro, and NFL's Offensive Player of the Year in 2008. 793 tackles, 84.5 sacks, 34 forced fumbles. He'll be he's not eligible yet, but this guy will be in the Hall of Fame.
How many touchdowns does he have?
As an outside linebacker, he actually has one.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one too. See, now that's the kind of play Antonio Brown needed.
Exactly.
And then he would be
that would have pushed him over the top, right?
Something like that. Like he would, no question, he would be best Pittsburgh. Antonio Brown. You see that catch in the Super Bowl?
Exactly.
That's what he's missing.
Yeah, that was a pretty good touchdown. But there you go. So James Henry Harrison, number 9 on our list tonight. There you go. All right, moving on to number 8. And that would be Mr. Rod Woodson.
God, that guy was good.
Roderick Kevin Woodson, to be exact. Drafted in 1987, first-round pick number 10 overall by the Steelers. Played 10 seasons for the Steelers, 87 through 96. And then went to Frisco for a year, played on the Ravens for 3 years, and won a Super Bowl that I'd rather forget about. And then wound up on the Raiders for the last couple of years of his career. But first 10 years was with the Steelers. Super Bowl champion, obviously, that year. 35. Defensive Player of the Year in 93, though. 6-time first-team All-Pro. Two-time second-team All-Pro. 11-time Pro Bowler. AFC Player of the Year in 93. Same year he won the Defensive Player of the Year. Two-time NFL interceptions leader. Member of the 75th anniversary team, 1990s All-Decade team, the 100th anniversary team, the Steelers all-time team, and he is indeed in Canton, Ohio. So, Rod Woodson, number 8 on our list tonight, guys.
Not bad, not bad.
He's just, I mean, look, the when you think about this organization and the almost every position on defense, the talent that they've had. And I mean, some offensive positions too, and strange positions that we'll talk about in a little bit. Just unbelievable. And he might, it's a testament to this organization that Rod Woodson is arguably maybe not the best defensive back this team has ever had. I mean, that's how good they've been at drafting or obtaining defensive players.
Yeah,
he's one of the best ever. And I think he was one of those guys who kind of changed the game a bit.
So, there you go. All right.
Yeah, didn't they change the rule?
Not with Woodson. That was with
that was Mel Blount.
Mel Blount, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But Woodson was one of those first kind of, guys who was just always in single coverage and always just, taking people's heads off.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So there you go. Number 8 on our list tonight, Mr. Roderick Kevin Woodson. All right. Moving on to number 7. Number 7 is going to be the Bus, Mr. Jerome Abram Bettis Sr., obviously better known to everybody, friends and foes alike, as the Bus. Running back for the Pittsburgh Steelers, drafted first round, pick number 10 overall in 1993 by the Rams. Played for the Rams for 3 seasons and then went on to play 10 years for the Steelers. Super Bowl champion with the Steelers, of course, in Super Bowl 40. NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year in 93. Comeback Player of the Year in 96. Won his first year with the Steelers. Walter Payton Man of the Year in 01. 2-time first-team All-Pro. Second-team All-Pro in 97. 6-time Pro Bowler, and he's a member of the Pittsburgh Steelers all-time team. 13,664 yards rushing. 91 rushing touchdowns. 200 receptions for 1,457 yards, too. And 3 receiving touchdowns. And, of course, he is a member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Jerome Bettis, the Bus. Guys.
Bossy didn't get no love from L.A., so
no.
So I think I'll go to the other side of the country and, win a Super Bowl or 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, started in L.A., with the Rams and finished with the Rams in St. Louis, actually. Made the trip with them. So he was closer to Pittsburgh when he left the Rams.
I mean,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
control the ball, run the ball, and have a great defense. It's you can't do that without having a really. I mean, he was just a workhorse for years and years and years and years.
Absolutely,
and
definitely.
You know, kind of a guy who probably wouldn't even be around in the NFL today because the game has changed so much, and he didn't play that long ago. But those Steelers championships, the most recent ones, they don't occur without Jerome Bettis.
No, they don't. They don't. So, there you go. What was that?
I don't know. What was that?
It's like somebody's having a hearing test during the podcast. It's like, can you hear this note?
What was that?
Yeah, I don't know. Either that or somebody's aligning their tape machine, but we're not going to get there. Anyway, so there you go. Number 7, Jerome the Bus Bettis. Let's move on to number 6. Number 6 is going to be the Head & Shoulders commercial himself, Mr. Troy Polamalu.
Mr. Terry Bradshaw.
Troy Umua Polamalu.
Ooh, nicely done.
He was born Troy Omua, and then he added the Polamalu because I believe that's his mother's maiden name.
And then he added the Polamalu.
Strong safety, drafted first round, pick number 16 in 2003 by the Steelers. Played his entire career in Pittsburgh, 12 years, 03 through 2014. 2-time Super Bowl champion with them, Super Bowl 40 and 43. And NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 2010, 4-time first-team All-Pro, 2-time second-team All-Pro, 8-time Pro Bowler, and NFL 2000s All-Decade Team, Pittsburgh All-Time Team. And he, indeed, is in Canton as well. So, Troy Omua Polamalu. There you go, guys.
In his prime, he's the best player on the field.
Mm-hmm.
He was a disruptor and a guy who seemed to be all over. He played more like a linebacker to some degree, an old school, sort of outside line. He was all over the field.
Right.
And he wasn't afraid, he wasn't a defensive back who was and I feel like he was in the hole making tackles half the time.
Yeah.
And he was a good cover guy, especially when on a weak side when he's when a safety was actually playing the position of safety. He came out of nowhere they were just a really hard team to score against, and he was one of those. Him and Harrison were one of the main reasons for that.
Yep, agreed.
Yeah, if he was crushing you, you hated him, but you had to respect his talent.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely played the position. One of those guys who played the position, unlike anybody else. We talked about a few guys, particularly in that in the defensive backfield, the guys who just did things differently and made it work.
Yep.
And I think he said he was talking about concussion protocol and that sort of thing, and I think he said he estimated about 50 times in his career when he got his bell rung,
mm-hmm.
which today would be
be out for 3 weeks.
Let's go in the tent and have you checked out at the very least.
Right.
So, hopefully he does not suffer the ill effects of that. Doesn't seem to have affected him to this point.
Yeah. But he's only been retired for 6 years, 7 years. So
well,
6 years.
It usually doesn't take too long after that. But anyway, talk more about that. Somebody else on this.
More about that next, actually.
Actually, that's the next guy on the list. That's right.
Yeah.
So
there you go. All right. Number 6 tonight on our list, Mr. Troy Polamalu. All right. Moving on to number 5. Number 5 is Mr. Mike Webster. Michael Lewis Webster, to be exact, center for the Pittsburgh Steelers, drafted in 1974 in the 5th round, pick 125th overall, out of Wisconsin. Played for the Steelers for 15 seasons, 1974 through 1988. And then went out to Kansas City and played another 2 seasons.
You forget he did actually play after Pittsburgh.
Yeah, He did. So 4-time Super Bowl champion, of course, all 4 in the 70s. Well, 1980 being the last one. But the 70s seasons. 7-time first-team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, Remember the 70s All-Decade team, the 80s All-Decade team, the 75th anniversary team, the 100th anniversary team, the Pittsburgh Steelers all-time team, and he, of course, is in Canton as well. But, yeah, a lot to talk about with him. Just a nickname. He was Iron Mike too. He was. It wasn't just Mike Ditka or Mike Tyson for that matter. Mike Webster was the original, the OG. Iron Mike.
Yeah,
that's with Ditka too, but
he definitely was.
Yeah, and he was just crazy. But yeah, 50 years old. CTE, and just a shame.
And he was actually the first. I believe he was the first guy first football player that was identified.
First former NFL player to be diagnosed with CTE.
They did an autopsy, and yeah, I think when did he die? 2002.
2002.
Yeah. So
almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, only 50 years old, and he just took a beating, and all that. 15 years in the league.
Yeah, and that was 11 years after he retired. He was gone. So
yeah. So his autopsy was really, one that kind of made people sit up and take notice that we knew what CTE was, but we didn't really understand that football is something that can be a cause.
Sure.
And his the study of his brain was something that got published and got noticed, and then people began to say, oh well, maybe this sport isn't just, he's got a bad hip, or, you'd have those guys that couldn't walk right or couldn't lie down for more than a couple hours at a time. And they go, it's all worth it because of the glory days of football. Well, now, you had all of a sudden a brain injury that, wasn't just, I can't sit or I have to wear a special shoe. These people's lives were tragically affected and tragically cut short. And his was the first brain that people had to, kind of admit that there was a connection.
Well, that was the beginning of the movie too. At the Will Smith was in a concussion.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, making history with his death, but.
Well, and he did make history.
He made history before that.
I mean, I think
he did.
For a lot of people, and I think I'm one of those. I think he's the best center to ever play the game. Yeah. Having said that, I would argue that the Steelers have 3 of the top 10 centers to ever play the game.
Very true.
Have worn the Steelers, sure, to Dermontti Dawson, who would certainly be on a top 10 list for many other teams, and Marquise Pouncey. Mike Webster, though, is the OG, and there's a couple other people that come close, but I think for a lot of people, he defined that position, and there's very few people who have played it that well for that long. Unfortunately, I think a lot of these guys, especially of that era, a lot of those offensive linemen, you are constantly receiving a ton of punishment, especially, to your head and to your body in general. I mean, a lot of these offensive linemen, you see so many of them dying in their 50s and maybe into their 60s because their bodies just took a beating to the point where they couldn't hold on any longer. Yep. It's sad, and hopefully that changes as we are able to not only change the game but change the equipment and everything else that we can use. But it's sad. I mean, the guy had arguably at least another third of his life left to go, and he was gone. At a very young age.
There are people that have killed themselves rather than
go
on living. And also, if you think back, and because of the rule changes we have, because some of this stuff came about. I mean, Webster and many others, was it Deacon Jones? I think his favorite move was the head slap.
Right.
These guys were getting clubbed on the head and grabbed and punched. Before the NFL was largely a free for all in the trenches.
Sure. And
now we understand that all that stuff rattles your brain. It's not just falling down and hitting the ground. Yeah. It's any sort of, these are, 6'1.5" and bigger men that weigh hundreds of pounds clubbing you, and you've got your head down, right? You're trying to look up and hand the ball. You're automatically at a
or you're on your way. You're moving backwards from a crouch stance while somebody else is lunging towards you at full speed, putting their helmet into your head, and then whatever.
And then you're falling backwards.
You're falling backwards.
Your head, that's just
and you constantly have people falling on top of you. And Webster was at that time. Granted, the game was still a little bit more run oriented, but it was at the time where the passing game started to increase, and the defensive linemen became much more important and much more physical and much bigger and much harder and much faster, much stronger, all of the above. And the punishment that an offensive lineman takes, you don't know until you experience it. And I certainly didn't experience at a pro level.
Right.
But even just playing the game for a while, you realize this just takes its toll on your body. I just can't imagine doing it for 12 years.
Well, you said before there's a lot of guys that just even killed themselves.
Right.
And that was like Dave Dewerson was one of them too. He won the Super Bowl with the Giants in '91, and he won with the Bears.
Well, then you look at a defense.
Earlier,
Then you look at the guy like Sean. What's his name from the Chargers, and how tragic that was. I mean, I think a lot of that had to do with the brain damage. Junior Seau. That's what I mean.
Yeah, definitely. So it's horrible. But anyway, all right. Well, he did make our list tonight, and
he was.
He was just
hard to find a better center.
Absolutely.
Ever.
Number 5 on our list.
He's I don't know, 1 or 1A. I don't know who would you.
Him and Dwight Stevenson. I'd put right there. And maybe at the end of the day, Marquise Pouncey.
There you go. Number 5 on our list tonight, Mike Webster. All right. That moves us to number 4. We have a tie. For number 4.
Number 4.
Our first number 4 is going to be Mr. Oh, Jerome Bettis was Jerome Bettis was Mike Webster was number 5.
Oh, Webster was 5. Okay.
But Jerome Bettis, I didn't say it. He was Mr. 7 tonight. I didn't even say Mr. 7 when we had
breaking it up. Mixing it up.
Mixing it up. So, all right. Number 4 tonight is Mr. Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger Sr. Ben Roethlisberger, folks. Big Ben. He was drafted, still playing, obviously. Drafted in 2004. Round number 1, pick number 11. Who went number 1 in that year in the draft? I forget. What was his name?
Eli Manning.
Elijah something.
Eli Manning.
Something like that. Anyway, he has played his entire career thus far with the Steelers. He's in year 18 right now with the Steelers. 2-time Super Bowl winner.
Take that, Eli.
There you go. 2-time Super Bowl champion in Super Bowl 40, Super Bowl 43. NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2004. 7-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL passing leader. MAC Most Valuable Player, a bunch of other awards. He's still obviously playing. Most NFL records. He has the most 500-yard passing games in his career so far. It's 4 of them actually. Most completions in a regular or postseason game, and that would be 47. Most passing yards in a relief appearance. That's 379. Most passing yards in consecutive postseason games, 970. Most TD passes in 2-game span, 12. Only player with consecutive games of 6+ TD passes, and only player with consecutive postseason games of 4+ TD passes. So far, 8,333 attempts so far, 5,174 completions, for a percentage of 64.4. There you go. 402 touchdowns, only 205 interceptions. So it's about 50% of his touchdowns that he had interceptions for. There you go. All right. 61,634 passing yards as well. Big Ben. Ben Roethlisberger tied for number 4. Guys got anything to say about Big Ben? Or,
I mean, look, he's the best. He's not on this list. He's not, but statistically, he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and I think he could argue he's maybe the best quarterback for this organization. Doesn't have the Super Bowl wins that somebody else does, but he's been in 3, and he probably won't make it to another one. But he's had a pretty spectacular career, and I think he's a sure shot Hall of Famer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. So, Pete, anything about?
He was never convicted of sexually assaulting anyone.
There you go. All right. On that note, number 4 on our list tonight. Tied.
We haven't checked his emails lately.
This
though.
is true. I have to check them in. So. Tied for number 4 on our list tonight, Mr. Ben Roethlisberger. All right. Also tied for number 4 is Mr. Mel Blount. Melvin Cornell Blount, to be exact. He was cornerback for the Steelers. Again, this list of defensive backs for the Steelers just goes on and on and on. Drafted in 1970, third round, pick 53 overall. Plays his entire career for the Steelers, 14 seasons. Won the 4 Super Bowls, of course, back in the day. NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 75. 2-time first-team All-Pro, 4-time second-team All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, interceptions leader in 75. 80s all-decade team, 75th anniversary team, 100th anniversary team. And, of course, he's in Canton as well. 57 interceptions, 736 interception yards, 2 TDs. There you go. Melvin Cornell Blount. Gentlemen?
Yeah, I mean, he was so good, they changed the rules. Pass interference or the sort of contact with the receiver, after a certain amount of yards, or it was all put in place because he was that good.
Mm-hmm.
He was that good. Yeah, and that the defense of I think it was 76 or 77. That team was maybe the best defensive unit ever assembled, and he was again a guy. They just seem to, every generation they have a guy who's just all over the field and played with the chip on their shoulder, and he's one of the best ever.
Yeah, I don't know if you're real. I mean, some of these guys we talk about, Palomalu and Mel Blount certainly, and Rod Woodson to a lesser extent, but like they were intimidating and punishing in a way that you don't see from defensive backs.
No,
so much, right? The advantage is these days is now almost always to the receiver.
Right.
With rare exception.
And they're not as involved in the running game. They're not as physical. They don't have as many tackles.
Right.
It's more speed only. You have to be able to run down, the field with the receiver.
Right.
But Blount was a guy you didn't want to go there if you didn't have to. You wanted him to be away from the play because he was punishing and he was intimidating.
They were a tough those 70s Steelers teams. I'm sorry. You could talk about the Raiders. You could talk about, there was never a tougher team. I feel like Jack Ham started the season with a full set of teeth and ended it with 3.
Yeah, and the rest were left
every year.
Well, the rest were left in running backs' forearms and shoulders throughout the week.
He gnawed somebody's cleat off.
He was who was the Lions coach, right? That was talking about we're gonna if we're on the ground, we're gonna bite your ankles and then do your knees
ankle
off.
Biters.
These guys would bite your ankle and
Dave
snap
Campbell.
your leg.
Dan Campbell. I'm sorry, Dan Campbell.
There you go.
And I think Mel Blount, I think he goes a little unnoticed on these teams. If you look at somebody like a Terry Bradshaw or a Franco Harris or even a Mean Joe Green, they weren't necessarily the best at their position ever at the time. Maybe you could argue that for Mean Joe Green. Mel Blount was, and so he was 5, 6, 7, 8 on that. I think he never really got the recognition as a household name and a football player that other people have. And he certainly opened the door for other defensive backs to play in that style. If you think of somebody like a Ronnie Lott or even later a Rod Woodson, I mean, they certainly follow it in his mold.
But he was not an outspoken, outgoing personality, was he? They just kind of, I could be wrong about it.
I don't think any of them were, because they didn't really say a lot, any of them. They were kind of, back then.
But I mean,
he wasn't at home tweeting every night. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, Bradshaw was the lovable goofball. Mean Joe Green had a commercial. There were things that people knew.
Right.
Mel Blount, I don't think I ever heard him speak.
No.
Just went about his business, cracking heads and doing a great job. So
Sure.
Yeah.
There you go. Well,
he's talking on the field.
Exactly.
But if you were to say, hey, name, the top 5 great Steelers from those 70s teams, a lot of people would not name Mel Blount. They would name Lynn Swann.
Yeah, that's
John
what I mean.
Fuller,
he wasn't a household name, despite his immense stature as a player.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, anyway, all right. Also tied for number 4 tonight, Mr. Melvin Cornell Blount. There you go. All right. That brings us to number 3. We have a tie at number 3 as well. Our first number 3 is Mr. Terry Bradshaw. Terry Paxton Bradshaw, to be exact. He was obviously a quarterback, in case you lived under a rock. Drafted in 1970. First pick overall in the 1970 draft out of Louisiana Tech. Played his entire career, 14 years, for the Pittsburgh Steelers, 1970 through 83. 4-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 13 and in Super Bowl 14. He was the most valuable player, NFL most valuable player in 1978, first-team All-Pro, won in 1978, and 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL passing touchdowns leader in 78 and 82. Member of the 1970s All-Decade Team, Pittsburgh Steelers Ring of Honor, or Hall of Honor, excuse me. The all-time team as well. Burt Bell Award in 78. And, of course, he is in Cooperstown as well. 27,989 passing yards. And, whatchamacallit, actually has 2,257 rushing yards, too. There you go. TDs, 212, and rushing touchdowns, 32. 32 rushing touchdowns by Terry Bradshaw.
32, that's a crazy number.
That's crazy. So, there you go. Terry Bradshaw. Terry Paxton Bradshaw. Tied for number 3 on our list. Guys?
I'll just say one thing. This is Mel Blount on Terry Bradshaw. I'd take Terry Bradshaw and go out there and be just as comfortable and confident that we'd win a game with that guy than with anybody else, because he was one tough cookie.
Yep.
I think that about sums it up. I mean, as a kid, as a really young kid, I remember the 2 best guys that were playing quarterback was Roger Staubach and Terry Bradshaw. And Staubach was obviously, a much higher groomed and more talented and more polished version. But Terry Bradshaw seemed to just go out there and win. Now, granted, he had a pretty darn good defense around him, and he didn't need to score 40 points a game to win. But when push came to shove in the big moments, can't say Terry Bradshaw never showed up. He always showed up.
Yeah, being a Cowboys fan, I hated the Steelers, and
so did Staubach, by the way.
Yeah, that's true. And hated Bradshaw, of course. But listen, he got it done. I mean, that's why I disliked him so much.
Exactly.
But I don't know. He was kind of a polarizing figure, but a hell of a quarterback.
There was. Yeah. There you go. Tied for number 3 on our list tonight, Mr. Terry Bradshaw. Also tied for number 3. It's going to be Mr. Jack Lambert.
Jack Lambert, old
John Harold Lambert.
Jumpin' Jack Lambert.
There you go. Jumpin' Jack Lambert. Played his entire career for the Steelers. Middle linebacker, of course. Drafted in round 2, number 46 pick overall from Kent State. Played his entire career for the Steelers, 11 seasons, 74 to 84. 4-time, of course, Super Bowl champion. 6-time first-team All-Pro. 2-time second-team All-Pro. 9-time Pro Bowler. NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 76. NFL Defensive Rookie of the Year in 74. AFC Defensive Player of the Year in 76 and 79. Remember the 70s All-Decade Team, 80s All-Decade Team, 75th Anniversary Team, 100th Anniversary Team, Steelers All-Time Team. And, of course, he is also in Cooperstown. It was Cooperstown. He's in Cooperstown, too, because he was a good baseball player. You never knew that. Canton, he was in Canton, Ohio, as well, in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There you go. John Harold Lambert, Jack Lambert. Gentlemen?
The best Sports Illustrated cover ever. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, well.
He looked like he was 73 and he was Dracula with the helmet on. And I think if he lined up across from me, I would just wet myself. I mean, when you think of football, I think of Jack Lambert. I don't know why. I just do. This guy was just arguably maybe the best middle linebacker of all time, or at least top 3. If you're starting an all-time NFL team and you have a 4-3 defense, this guy's your middle linebacker.
Right.
And granted, he had a great line. He had another linebacker who's in Jack Ham, who's fantastic. They were a great, great, great defense. But he was the leader of that defense. Make no, there's no question about that. He was the leader of that defense.
Agreed.
Yeah, the epitome of old school power, chew them up and spit them out. Defense.
Literally.
Yeah, literally. Like any situation you could think of, if you pick a guy you want to have your back, whether it's a football game or you're in a gang fight or an armed robbery, whatever, I'll take Jack Lambert.
Yeah, me too.
I had it somewhere. I thought this might have been it, but there you go. That's one of them.
You don't have the Sports Illustrated?
I had it somewhere. I'm trying to find it. So.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah,
it's the Man of Steel. It's classic. Yeah. I kind of now want it as a poster.
It's almost cartoonish.
It is reality. Yeah, it's sort of like he's the kind of guy who at the end of his career, if you told somebody he was your grandfather, you would believe him. But he'd still look like that grandfather that would literally bite the leg off a table and then use it to beat the piss out of you. I mean, he was just...
Or he would go out and lift up the car by the back bumper so you could change the tire and hold it there for 5 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. At 72 years old.
That's
he'd
right.
lift up the back of the Volvo and...
That's right.
All right, go ahead, change that tire.
And he'd open your Heineken with his one good tooth.
Here you go. Right here. Here it is right here.
I mean, how could you not?
Yeah.
I mean, I love everything about that. That, to me, is what's missing in football right now. A neck roll, 3 teeth, a giant face mask, big shoulder pads, and just look at that. Look at that
stash. Look at the stash.
Look at
that
stash. Yeah.
You could store
it goes down lower than some people's beards.
You put a third grader's lunch to be stored in that mustache.
There you go.
Yeah. Jack Lambert.
Jack Lambert.
Jack Lambert.
70s NFL football player or bass player for Kings of Leon.
I think it's a little of both. All right. Also, again, tied for number 3, Jack Lambert. All right. Gets us to our top 2. Our number 2 tonight is going to be Mr. Franco Harris.
Oh, man. Franco.
You know what his name is? His
Franco.
full name? It would be Franco Harris. That's his full name. There you go.
I did know that.
He was a fullback, born in New Jersey, Fort Dix, New Jersey. He went to Penn State. Was drafted at Penn State in 1972, first round, 13th pick overall. Played his entire career except for the last year. 12 years he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Went to the Seattle Seahawks for a year in 1984. 4-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl 9. Defensive Rookie of the Year. In 1972, Man of the Year in 76, first team All-Pro in 77, 2-time second team All-Pro, 9-time Pro Bowler, consecutive seasons, 1972 through 1980. Rushing touchdowns leader in 76, member of the 70s All-Decade team and the Steelers All-Time team. 12,120 rushing yards, 91 rushing touchdowns, 9 receiving touchdowns. Actually had 307 receptions for 2,287 yards too. And of course, he is in Canton, Ohio. Franco Harris. There you go, right there, gentlemen. Nothing.
Well, he set the template for Pittsburgh Steelers running backs, right? I mean, and I'll just say one thing about Franco Harris. What he did on the field was amazing. He also had to practice every week against Mean Joe Green, Jack Ham, and Jack Lambert. I mean, I think this is part of what the mentality and the culture of the Steelers team was back then. I don't think they practiced lightly. I think that this team was built to literally pound the crap out of you, and that's what they did. That's what they did. I mean, he was chosen for 9 consecutive Pro Bowls, which means that he played in 9 consecutive seasons at that high of a level. Mm-hmm. And so what that in that kind of pounding running game first. I mean, the Steelers were a team that Terry Bradshaw probably averaged maybe 20 passes a game.
Right.
So it's incredible that the longevity that he had as well.
Sure. Yeah.
And of course, the Immaculate Reception.
And the Immaculate Reception.
That's
Absolutely.
right.
The Immaculate Reception. All right. Number 2 on our list tonight, Mr. Franco Harris, which brings us to our number 1 Pittsburgh Steeler of all time tonight on our list. And if you've been listening and paying attention, you can probably guess who it is, and that would be none other than Mr. Charles Edward Green. Yes, folks, Joe Green. Joe Green. Mean Joe Green, to be exact. He was a defensive tackle, of course, drafted out of North Texas State in 1969 by the Pittsburgh Steelers. 4th pick overall, round number 1. Pittsburgh Steelers, remember the Steelers for 13 seasons? 10, 11, 12, 13 seasons, yep. And he coached after that, too. Coached for the Steelers, Dolphins, and the Cardinals for a while. But 4-time Super Bowl champion, 2-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year in 69, NFL Man of the Year in 1979, 5-time First-Team All-Pro, 3-time Second-Team All-Pro, 10-time Pro Bowler, 70s All-Decade Team, 75th Anniversary Team, 100th Anniversary Team. His Steelers number 75 is retired. His North Texas Mean Green number 75 is retired as well. And, of course, he is indeed in the College Football Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. There you go, Mr. Charles Edward Green. Joe Green, Mean Joe Green. There you go. Number 1 on our list tonight. Gentlemen?
Was he really that mean?
I don't think so. But he was really that good.
Yeah.
He was.
I think there were definitely meaner people. I think he was just the first one to get the Mean Joe sounded better than Mean Jack.
I think it was the rhyme scheme, right?
Mean
Right.
Charles.
His last name was like Smith.
That's right.
Mean Joe Smith. It never
Mean
would
Joe
have.
Smith.
No.
Mean Joe Green.
Right.
Although his partner, which we're going to talk about in a minute, it would have maybe rhymed almost as good.
This is true. Very true. And, of course, he wasn't too mean in this commercial either.
No, wasn't that? I mean, that's classic. Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
Look at those shoulder pads. Jeez.
yeah, the guy was huge.
Yeah. Thanks, Mean Joe.
Yeah, he was a fan of the clothesline, wasn't he, Mean Joe?
Yeah,
Back in you could do so much in the NFL.
Well,
They
he
were able to do
didn't
a
like
lot
to
back
use the
then.
dryer. He liked to air
liked
dry
the clothesline.
jerseys. Yeah,
He hung him up. Yeah, exactly.
he only wooden clothes pick.
Right.
Close,
And he used the wash tub too.
clothespin.
He didn't actually put it in a tumbling
Right.
washer.
He
washed it by hand.
He washed it in the river.
Yeah.
One of the 3 rivers.
There you go. One of the 3 rivers.
Yeah.
The Allegheny, the Monongahela, and the
There you
Ohio.
go.
There you go.
The Mean Joe Aqueduct. Yeah.
Right at the confluence. He washed his clothes.
All
there you
righty.
go. All right. There you
Run
go.
out of gas.
Mean Joe Green, number 1 on our list tonight. All right. I'll take that ticker off there. And that brings us to another segment of our show that we like to call Hello. Oh, of course.
I like to call it hello.
We like to call it Hello. No, we like to call it Old Balls.
Old balls.
Harry, why don't you tell us who our Old Balls tonight is?
Well, in keeping with the legacy of none other than Mr. Mean Joe Green, the second of the 4 gentlemen who created the infamous steel curtain or the Steelers defensive line during those 4 Super Bowl runs is none other than Mr. L.C. Greenwood. Yes, I'll give John what he's waiting for, his full name, L.C. Henderson Greenwood. Mean Joe Green was great, but his partner in crime here was definitely Greenwood. And, he's a 4-time Super Bowl champion, 6-time Pro Bowler, 2-time First Team All-Pro. He was just one of those guys that seemed to change the position and seemed to become a prototype for a defensive end as we move forward into the 80s and certainly into the current times. He was 6'6", 245 pounds. He used the speed as much as his strength. And because of his height, he batted down a lot of passes. You had guys like him and Too Tall Jones in this era. It just seemed like getting passing over these guys as the passing game became more and more important. You started to see taller and taller and a little bit leaner defensive ends, and he was one of the best ever. He's kind of a flamboyant guy, known for wearing his gold-colored shoes on the football field. Okay. He wanted to help the announcers distinguish himself from Mean Joe Green. He was called Hollywood Bags because of his desire to become an actor after retiring from football. And, he was a finalist a number of times for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but he unfortunately never got in. And he said he was not upset that he was not elected, feeling that the Steelers are already in the Hall. In particular, Mean Joe Green represents the entire team's accomplishments. He was in 1991. Green was named to the Super Bowl Silver Anniversary Team, and in 2007 he was named to the Steelers All-Time Team. And he's one of those guys that, and there could have been a lot of guys selected for this, Steelers Old Balls recipient, but you noticed that he was different on the field. His athleticism was pretty spectacular. And, him along with Mean Joe Green, Ernie Holmes, and Dwight White, hard to say there was ever a better defensive line. And granted, this was the era where we were still playing a more traditional 4-3 setup with 4 linemen and 3 linebackers. But man, they were good. They were really good. And L.C. Greenwood, he's one of those guys. He might not be in the Hall of Fame, but he's certainly one of the best Pittsburgh Steelers of all time, and one of the leaders on quite possibly the best defense to ever play football.
LC was a bad man.
He was a bad man indeed. There are a lot of bad men. I was going to say he could have been mean LC Greenwood, but it just didn't quite stick.
Bad LC Greenwood.
Bad LC Greenwood. Yeah.
Was Jim Croce thinking about that instead of Leroy Brown, LC Greenwood?
I don't know.
There you go. Well, it's inspiration for it.
That's right.
Anyway, all right.
Well, I think LC Greenwood was kind of the inspiration for all defensive ends till today. I mean, he sort of started to play the game a little differently. There was a few other guys, but he was one of those guys who, the position changed.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. There you go. Number on our old balls tonight, LC Greenwood, old balls.
Old balls.
All right. So, all right. You have any schedule anomalies there?
Matter of fact, I think I do. Hang on. We've got a couple of them left here. Let's see.
This is why I want to have the baseball schedule the way it is, because then Pete cannot find any scheduling.
Well, this is for the NFL. Oh, okay. I think last week we talked about, or maybe it was last week we didn't do it. 2 weeks ago we talked about the Broncos not having a Monday night game,
which is crazy.
Yeah. So this one is about the Eagles having the easiest strength of schedule this season, according to those rankings. Don't have to play a single road game this season against a team that had a winning record last year.
That's crazy.
No, they're.
As a matter of fact, of the Eagles' 17 opponents this year, only 3 of them had a winning record in 2020.
That's funny.
So there we go.
There you go.
Also, they won't be flying as much. They will not have to get on a plane for the rest of the season following their November 14th game at Denver.
It's a conspiracy. Jerry Jones had it rigged.
And they still suck.
There you go.
Not so far.
Well, they did beat the Panthers last week, though.
Yeah, that's true. So
there you go.
So there you go. So the Eagles are set up schedule and travel wise.
There you go.
To have an easy go of it. So
they play the Bucs at home, and boy, if that ever has upset written all over it, that's they do have an easy schedule. The Raiders, the Lions.
It's crazy.
Well, they do have to play the Chargers.
Right.
Then they play the Broncos, the Saints. Yeah.
So there you go. Put your money on the Eagles. By the way, Rangers got beat 5-1.
5-1.
Yeah.
They do get to play the Giants twice too, and the Jets this year.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's why a lot of their teams are sub 500.
I'm just hoping that the Giants' home game versus the Eagles, the Giants actually win, because that day they're actually retiring Michael Strahan's number.
Oh, his number isn't retired yet.
It's retired this year. November.
They're gonna give him a commemorative tooth gap filler.
Yeah, something like that. No, he actually. I remember I watched something on. He had an interview one time where he actually went to the dentist to get fixed, and he was going to get it fixed, and he's like, you know what, this is my moniker. Screw that.
That's right.
You know, people see that gap, it's me. So he didn't do
He's
it.
going to have Brett Favre fall down on the ground and hand him a
here we
commemorative
go.
jersey.
Brett Favre's going to hand him his thing. And
I thought we were gonna get through a podcast without that.
Well, you mentioned Michael Strahan, so
And he's like, I was at that game and I saw it, and it was questionable, but I think he had the
Jerry Jones.
no, it was
tried
not
to con-
questionable.
Jerry-
No, he would have had the sack.
It was a
He just-
dive.
But it's not like he could have gotten away from
It's
it.
only because Jerry Jones told the refs to give it to him.
Jerry was at that game.
There you go. Anyway,
So a couple quick things. Joe Burrow on voice rest.
voice rest. Yeah, you
week,
can't
I
talk.
guess.
No talking.
Yeah. I
Maybe
don't know if I've ever
do
heard of that.
silent count.
But
Okay.
they're going to give him those flags. He's going to do semaphore.
Ink a pink, a bottle of ink.
to call
Everybody
the
look at
plays.
me.
Delta, Bravo, Sierra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
42.
he probably could if
42.
if he goes out of the shotgun. He could just do the whole knee thing.
There you go.
Joe Burrow's looking good.
Yeah. Well, look, he took a shot to the throat and was having some trouble talking. So he was going to do the whole podcast with us this week. But
He was going to be on, but he couldn't talk.
He's got to learn to get the fuck down. Did you see that hit he took?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ! These quarterbacks just get down or
He's
run
not
it.
u-
Just
he's not used
lay
to-
down.
He's not used to getting hit like that. He never got
Lay
hit like that in
down.
college, so.
God, I like Joe Burrow. I think he's got. And look, what's Cincy 3-2? They beat a couple decent teams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could have beaten the Packers last week.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And in the latest Rob Gronkowski news, he'll be out this week. Speaking of taking a
Be out
shot.
and
Doesn't he have like 12 broken ribs or something?
Yeah, something like. Well, it's down to 8 now. 4 of them have healed. So.
Warfield.
He just removed 3 of them.
You're right.
They didn't so much
I don't-
heal. As
I don't
he
need this. and-
just took the broken part out.
Gronk play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
listen, he might re-retire after this year.
I love him.
Yeah.
I kind of do too.
How could you not like
I
him?
don't-
He's
I mean,
old school.
First of all, he's just amazingly good on the field,
Right.
and he's goofy and all that. But I actually enjoy his commercials, and
I enjoy when he scores touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
he pokes fun at himself. I don't know if he knows he's doing it, but he does it well. So.
Right.
Oddly enough, my biggest Gronk memory is him almost ruining the Giants Super Bowl win. Remember that Hail Mary at the end of the Giants Patriots?
He was right there, but
He
yeah,
almost
knocked it
caught that damn thing. He had like one leg, his arm. I think his one arm was actually removed. He had one hand.
Well, he was using the one arm to bat away the other
right.
guys to.
That's right. He had a flipper installed. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Anyway, that's my memory of Gronk.
There
there we go.
Anyhow, all right. Pete, you got a over under tonight?
I am going to preview the over-under because I'm amazed that neither of you guys said anything about this.
The weird pink thing in the back there?
No, this room has been changed.
Well, you got the weird, you got the different, the shelves aren't
the
there
shelves
anymore.
of
Shelves
wonder
are
are
behind you
behind
now.
me
Yeah,
now.
I saw that. I was going to,
So the desk has been turned.
I was gonna say you're back to where you were, like
What do you have
early
in the-
podcast days.
What are you collecting possums in the crate there? What's going on with the metal
Maybe.
cage? Yeah.
So
That's where Marie Kondo lives.
You crab it on the weekends?
if you look back,
That's where he keeps Marie Kondo.
I don't know if you can see.
Right there.
If you look back
I can't wait to read her racist email.
right where my hand is,
Yeah.
Right.
there's a
It's red.
paper shop, or it's a cloth bag.
Right. Okay.
You know what? Let me grab it
All right.
Oh,
because we can't do it because I don't know what the count is, so I
Right.
can't
Oh.
pick the over under. But I'll give you a preview for next week.
Okay.
all right.
Preview for next week. He's gonna get. There he goes. All right.
Was that charcoal?
It's Matchlight.
Is that a bag of charcoal?
That's what I like to hear, laughter when I put my headphones back on.
No, we're talking about Matchlight.
So
We thought you brought a bag of
Bag of
charcoal.
Matchlight.
Roots.
it's a Roots bag from Canada. It's
Okay.
just kind of your typical cloth bag.
Is that the band that plays for the Jimmy Fallon show?
Yeah, I didn't know they were Canadian.
Years
They don't
They
sound
were
ago,
from Philly, I thought.
a few years ago, when I worked for Panera Bread,
Yep.
we had all sorts of different hats. And the trainers in the cafes would get black hats.
Mhm.
So you knew that they were trainers and they knew their stuff.
Mhm.
So, but I was in the bakers group and we didn't have hat designations.
Gotcha.
So when I became a training specialist with the company, I got a bunch of black hats
Bunch.
that I would give to bakers, not because they became trainers. Well, when they became trainers, I did, but also when they did a good job or when I felt like they were excelling.
Sure.
It was, and there was like a little pin that we would stick in them. But of course, the company wouldn't buy them because it was unsanctioned. So I got some black hats, and the remaining ones are in this bag, and I'm wearing one of them right now. And there's one right here.
Mm-hmm.
So there's at least two.
We know this.
But the ones that I have left over are in this bag, which I will hold up once again.
Yeah, hold it up to a light.
So there's a number of them.
There's
Is
a
there
good
anything
one.
else in the bag other than the hat?
Let me pull out what's in here. No, it's just hats.
Just
okay.
hats. There you go.
Just hats in the bag.
So the question is, how many hats are in that bag?
How many hats are in the bag? And then,
Excluding the one on your head and the one you pulled out.
we'll count the two
Okay.
because this hat was on top of the bag when it was on the shelf, and this hat is usually right underneath where the bag was. I usually
Gotcha.
keep it there.
Okay,
That's
so
mine.
two plus whatever's in the bag.
So 2 plus whatever's in the bag,
Mhm.
and I will
How many years were you doing this job?
10. Well, training specialist was 4 years.
Okay.
Mhm.
So,
Okay. There you go.
And I will. I will.
And
figure
how
out
many did you
are-
get? How many hats did you get a year?
Well, I
You're doing the math. Is that what you're doing? You're trying to figure it out now.
My math isn't quite adding up. That bag looks
They're
pretty
very
robust.
It's a big bag.
I don't remember how many I bought.
So He bought a bunch. Yeah. So
Yeah, I bought a
well, you
bunch.
said they didn't sanction them. So he went out and bought them.
Yeah, so I bought like it wasn't a gross. It's like 700 or something like
Right.
that, or 110 or whatever.
140.
I guess you would say a case, but honestly, I don't remember how many were in.
But obviously, this is just what's left for what's in the bag.
This is what's left after.
Gotcha. All right. Well, we have a
few
good
years of giving.
over under for next week.
Good over under for next week.
Yeah,
How many black hats in the Roots bag?
I have no idea how many are in there. I mean,
Well, that's for next week.
yeah.
Well, we don't need to count them now. You can count them then. You got a whole
Yeah, no, I'm going to count them during the week.
It's
And
just like waiting to find out who shot JR. Till next week.
Till next week.
Yeah.
We will do it then. All right. Well, there you go. All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap up the show for tonight on that note. What do you think?
yeah,
It's good.
that sounds good.
All right, let's go. It's only 3 hours and 16 minutes into the show. So
Well,
nice
we
short.
haven't
show
done a
today.
3-hour show in a while.
It's been a while, so we
Right.
had to do one. We were due. So anyway, all right, we'll wrap it up for tonight. In that case, we want to thank everybody for watching, and for those of you just listening to the audio podcast, thanks for listening. Don't forget to visit our website www.getonwithitpodcast.com. That's getonwithitpodcast.com. And please remember, like us and follow us on all of our social media: Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. Just search for the Get On With It podcast. There you go. All right.
All right, that's enough.
And, of course, all of our shows are on YouTube as well on the Logger Room channel. Remember, we go live with the video podcast on both Facebook and YouTube every Wednesday night at 7:30. For those of you that just want to listen to the audio podcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, TuneIn, and Stitcher. Plus, the show is now available on Google Podcasts, Amazon Music Podcast, and iHeartRadio as well. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to one or more of those feeds, and you will never miss a show. Again, thanks for following along with us. Have a great weekend. Have a great rest of your week first, then the weekend. Watch a lot of sports. Make sure you watch the Giants take on the Milk Toasts tomorrow night. And don't That'd be the Dodgers if you weren't listening to the beginning of the podcast. And watch football all weekend, and we will talk to you next week, folks. Have a good one. Take care. Cheers.
Adios.
Bye, everybody.